Boom, boom, boom. Hold on, y'all. I don't know what happened. Hold on.
You are live, right?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what happened. Like all of a sudden my screen jumped off. Hold on.
I still see it that you're live. One,
Yeah,
two.
we good. Okay. We
Yep.
live. Salute to all the diehards. This is Diehard Giants Live, and I'm your man. I am Jarrell on IG and Twitter. As you can see, it's been a long time, and my computer forgot how to run its own show. So, salute to everybody. As you can see, I got my guy Eru and
Got to
Steph
dust it
here.
off.
Salute.
Dust off the pod a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. I clicked live. All of a sudden, I saw a black screen. I was like, did I click something? I don't know what happened. But yeah, salute to everybody, man. This is Diehard Giants Live, and this is our annual free agent show. Free agency, moving and grooving. Let me check the chat real quick. I know my guy Rob Bracy was in the chat before. Let me
Salute.
see if
Salute.
he's still in here. Hold on one second. Let me see. I just want to make sure everything is on the up and up. Yeah, I think we are live. I see myself on the screen, my phone, and on here. So yeah, we good. Um, I probably gonna give people a couple minutes to start talking about the Giants because this is a live show, and I didn't put anything out on social media. So if they didn't get the notification, they don't really know I'm live now. So I know y'all saw the Knicks last night. We can talk about them real quick before we get on to the Giants. We smacked Golden State. How y'all feel about that? I know Eru has his own channel, Die Hard Knicks, and I was in the chat. He does a watch along every game, and it was great. You know, it was like not 2 o'clock in the morning, but it was at least what
Close.
12.
It finished like almost like 12:31, almost one. Or
Yeah, 12:30, 1 o'clock. Yeah, it was a good game though. What was y'all assessment of the Knicks, real quick?
I fell asleep at halftime. When I woke up, we won the game.
Yo,
I
that's what's
looked
up.
at the box score. I saw Deuce was loose with 29 points. I'm excited, for the Knicks and what they're doing right now because I had said with all of the injuries, at some point, whoever is left, when is that team going to come together?
Right.
Not that it's going to be as good as when everybody is here, but if they come together, I thought, we could still beat some teams.
Right,
Remember that 4-8 February? I'm like, come on. But it seems like it's coming together now. So
right. Salute to Almighty Finesse. First thing he said was good, and then Saquon is a bum. We definitely gonna talk about Saquon Barkley and what he got with the Eagles, and he left us. Our prodigal son left us, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, salute to Almighty Finesse. Salute to Rob Bracy. Yeah, salute to Rob. He was in here earlier before 9 o'clock, and he was the first one. So let's get on to the free agency moving and grooving. Yeah, as you can see from the thumbnail, our two biggest pickups was Brian Burns and Saquon's replacement. I know that's kind of hard for me to say now, Devin Singletary. But first, we'll talk about the players that got re-signed and a couple of the players that we lost. Most of the people that we re-signed are all special teamers. Gunnar Carter, Casey Kreider, Nick McLeod. Nick McLeod plays special team, but he does play on defense as well. He's a good nickelback. Sometimes he plays safety for us also. Lawrence Cager is a backup tight end. He's a pretty good depth piece. And Benson Whitley, I don't know that much about him. He was on the team. He's part of the 53-man roster, but he was just strictly special teams. I don't even know if he got a defensive snap last year. So those are the players that we re-signed. There are a couple of names that are missing for now. Isaiah Hodgins, I know most of us really like him. Number 18 wide receiver for us, 6'5". Really, really big, strong kid. He started for us last year with Darius Slayton. We haven't re-signed him yet. I'm not sure if we're going to. I think that'll be a tough loss because I like him, and he came up in the ranks at Buffalo and then switched over to here from their practice squad. But I'm not so sure we're going to resign him. He might be worth too much money. He might have a higher payday somewhere else. It wouldn't be that big like Saquon or Xavier McKinney, but I don't know how they view him for the future. Try to invest in him.
And that's Xavier McKinney, right?
No, I was talking about Isaiah Hodgins.
Isaiah Hodgins. Okay.
Remember the wide receiver? He was number 18. He was not number one wide receiver, but he started for us. He was a good blocker.
Oh, and he got hurt, right?
Yeah, he had got hurt, but then he had came back. He didn't really do much last year because none of our wide receivers pretty much did that much last year. So it was almost like out of sight, out of mind. Like he played almost every game, but he didn't really do much but block. He didn't catch that many balls last year.
Wow.
Other than that, yeah, we lost Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney. Obviously, those are the two biggest headlines. But I have slides for both of them for what their contracts were with Philly and Green Bay. So we could talk about Tyrod Taylor Robinson and Ben Bredesen real quick. Tyrod Taylor is now the backup for Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. The Giants, he was actually the highest paid backup in the league. And you could tell when Daniel Jones did get hurt, Tyrod Taylor came in and actually played better than him. So the Jets got a really good backup quarterback. I'm not sure what the numbers were on the contract, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't, they didn't break the bank on him. And good for Tyrod Taylor that he didn't have to move his family. He's in the same building, and I'm happy for him because I really didn't think that he was going to resign with us.
I mean, Tyrod Taylor kind of makes me sad because I see him as a starting quarterback. The way that he approaches the game, just the energy.
Mm-hmm.
He could run the football really good. He has a really strong arm still. He's a good leader. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand why he's now regulated to just being a backup.
I mean, a lot of it has to do with age and his ability to stay healthy. Also,
that's true. Yeah,
as you can see, he got hurt with us like twice, I think, and that's why Tommy DeVito got some burn after he went down.
Where's Tommy DeVito? He's still in the league?
No, he's still with us, but I'm not sure at what capacity. I don't really think he's going to be with us much longer, and if so, it will probably just be the practice squad.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people. I know he came in and looked pretty good considering he was a quarterback that wasn't drafted, and he came off our practice squad. Threw a couple touchdowns, but I think that's kind of how good Brian Daboll is, if that makes sense. Like I never thought Tommy DeVito was going to be the starting quarterback for the Giants ever, not long term.
But getting a couple touchdowns, that's kind of hard with like 300-pound, mountain bears running at you full speed like that.
That is true. That is true. I don't want to take anything away from Tommy Touchdown or Tommy Cutlets or whatever his nickname was, but Tommy was our guy at one point. But moving forward, even if he is part of the team, I'm not saying they're trying to get rid of him or anything. I can already tell by one of the free agents that we're going to talk about, Drew Lock. As soon as we signed him, I kind of figured that Tommy DeVito, number was kind of up with the New York Giants, because I do think we will draft a quarterback also, even if it's not in the first round. It will be a quarterback that would probably take Tommy DeVito's place as the roster spot on the team.
Now, every time we do a show like this, man, like I feel like calling my dad and making a play date with him and just so I could slap the taste out of his mouth, man. Because I was extremely athletic when I was a kid. Like you play football at a high level, but maybe I couldn't have played it at a high level, but I could have made a practice squad. You know what I'm saying? And you can get pushed up in case of injury, and next thing you know, you're playing for the NFL, and that's enough for me. I could be Danny DeVito for Tommy DeVito for like a couple games. What the hell?
And people don't realize how good players on the practice squad are also. Like I actually tried that at one point, but I went the semi-pro route instead of the practice squad. But regardless, the practice squad is tough too. I know they're not technically in the NFL, but yeah, like you said, it only takes a couple injuries and you can be thrown on a roster fast too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, man. A lot of people on the practice squad, they went to D1 colleges and they're really, really good players. Like it's really tough making a 53-man roster, especially depending on the position. If you're a quarterback,
Mhm.
there's only two of those per roster.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm emphasizing that because you hear people talking about football and all they want to talk about is the quarterback. That's
Mhm.
like talking about politics and only talking about the president.
Right,
There's so many
right,
different things. You got to vote for Congress, you got to vote for the Senate, you got to vote for local government. There's a bunch of things going on besides the president.
right.
So when people only want to talk about Daniel Jones, but there's like a whole bunch of moving parts going on here that we got to focus on. So football is incredible, man.
Yep. And even though Daniel Jones, I don't think he's going to be the quarterback of the future for us, but you can tell. I'm not saying that all of it is his fault. Let's just say that. It's not like he helped the situation because he didn't play that well,
Right.
but all of his hangups aren't really his fault either. Like he's had what, three head coaches, three or three or four offensive coordinators since he's been in the league in a 5-year span.
Mhm.
Like, trying to succeed under those circumstances is kind of unheard of, to be honest. It doesn't happen often. Usually good quarterbacks are in stable conditions. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like every Hall of Fame quarterback that had a stable team or a stable situation that he was in.
right.
So Ashawn Robinson, Ben Bredesen, like we lost those two as well, a defensive tackle and an offensive guard. They were backups for us, but they were pieces that played a lot of snaps last year. But we definitely have Ben Bredesen's replacements in free agency. And for defensive tackle, I think we're just going to either run with one of the young guys that didn't get that much burn that we got in the draft a couple years ago, or we will draft another defensive tackle. I don't see us. If we do sign another defensive tackle, it'll be like marginal.
Ben Bredesen, was he the tight end?
No, he was the offensive guard. Like he actually was our not like he started left guard before Justin Pugh came.
Hmm.
Like he was real bad in the first couple games, and I don't know. I think he got hurt towards the middle of the season, and he got benched. But that's when Justin Pugh came and took over the starting spot at the left guard.
I Well, all right, we'll get to who we signed because we signed
Mhm.
two tight ends. I'm like, we already had two tight ends.
Yeah, but those are out. I will tell you why we signed those, and they are two
Okay.
completely different tight ends to what you're
Okay.
thinking about.
Okay.
Um, so first we just have the eulogy for Saquon Barkley.
The memorial service.
Yeah, man. Like this is the wake, man. Like it's been a long time coming. Like we've been talking about this for a couple years now. I already said, like I said a lot that I don't think he's the future for the Giants. Not that I don't like Saquon Barkley. I actually think that Saquon Barkley was like the face of the franchise. Like he was the um, model citizen. Never heard anything negative about him in the press or social media. He always came to work. He just got injured a lot. And, he plays a position that's not valued by every team. But obviously, the Eagles valued him a lot more than we did because the Eagles signed him to 3 years for almost $38 million, 26 million guaranteed with an average pay yearly salary of 12.6. So that compared to what we signed our new running back, um, Saquon pretty much, I don't know. It's like he got paid like top 5 running back money.
I think it's kind of ridiculous to me. He's definitely going to bring a leadership
Mhm,
quality to the Eagles. They probably need a little bit more leadership at
mhm.
this point. But I mean, they're running backs, man. I got nightmares of them running us into the ground the last 2 games of the season. You know what I'm saying? So, they already had good. They had like two good running backs over there with the Eagles. So how
Yep.
does that fit into what getting Barkley here? I mean,
Because
they
they're starting running back. He actually plays for the Bears now. So they
okay.
got rid of Swift. They got rid of Swift. He plays for the Bears. He's the starting running back over there. So they actually did have a hole for a starting running back. And the type of roster that Philly has, they can afford to pay a running back like this. Their roster is way more complete than ours is. So even though Saquon is good at his position, one of the best at what he does at his position, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve that $26 million guaranteed. I'm just saying that the front office didn't value paying any running back at that position that type of money, regardless of who it was.
Right.
Whether you could have been the best back in the league, they do not want to pay best back of the league money. How they're constructing this roster.
I think that's smart. What do you think, Steph? That's smart, right? Because we have so many other holes. Why would we put so much bread in a running back that has no blocking? You know?
Listen, that was the question when we drafted him.
That is
I
true.
mean, not necessarily his talent, but do you want to take a running back at what we picked him at number 2?
2. Yep.
Yeah. That was the age-old question from the beginning. So
that's why
they just corrected it.
That's one of the reasons that I thought, David Gettleman was a terrible GM. Much as I like Saquon Barkley, he was a terrible draft pick.
Man, David Gettleman, that's another one that we need to find somewhere and slap the snot out of him.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley is a perfect player. He just wasn't the perfect player for our team.
Right.
Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So, he played. Look how many games he played for. 74 games, had over 5,000 yards on the ground, had over 2,000 receiving, and total touchdowns of almost 50. So he had a pretty good career, a solid career in the 5 years that he was here. But yeah, at that price with his injury history and his age, he's I think 27 now. So yeah, by the time this contract is up, he will be almost 30 years old or at 30. And yeah, the price tag was just too much for us.
Yeah, he was wearing like an apparatus on his neck. Remember, he couldn't move his arms at one point.
No, not an apparatus.
I don't know. He had like an iron lung. He was running around with an iron lung out there.
Yo, I haven't heard that word in a minute. Salute to you. A contraption around his neck.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, man. And plus, remember he hurt his ankle last year too. Like he missed games last year. I think he missed 3 or 4 games last year with a sprained ankle. Right. So yeah, he was just kind of injury prone. But I just like him as a person. Let's just say that. Like I'm rooting for Saquon, but I just don't want him to win anything now because he's on Philly. That's all.
Okay. Well, you live in that area, man. So you got to give the tea with that stuff.
Man, people been calling my phone, texting me stuff like that. Yo, my job, man. We got Saquon. Like the day after it happened, hated to go into work, but it is what it is. I'm not the type of person that will talk bad about a player just because he went somewhere for more money.
Right.
Like he got a family and kids too. Got a wife and kids at home, man. You can't, like, if we're offering him 8, you can't turn down 12 to 13. That doesn't make any sense. Like, can't do that. Like, you can't do that. And we just wasn't in the market for him. We didn't even offer him a contract. Like this is what the Giants do. They do everything in good faith. At least this is what I've been learning from their front office. They told both Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney to go find deals, come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
If it's good for us, we can match it or maybe better it a little bit for you to stay here. They were both team captains. They're both leaders of the team. When it comes to Saquon, I heard that he gave them Philly's offer and they didn't. Yeah, they didn't even counter it. Because it was almost disrespectful to counter it. Like, even if he would have gave us a discount, it wouldn't have been at the discount we would have gotten.
Right.
So he was gone as soon as Philly signed him to that. Also, salute to his agents, but I just hate that he's with Philly. Yeah. Now with Xavier McKinney, he's still in the conference though. Like, we're going to end up having to play the Packers as well. Good thing about Xavier McKinney, he's only 24 years old. So I actually hated losing him more than Saquon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Way more than Saquon. But
why did they lose? They didn't want to pay him. It was the money.
The money. Look at the money. It's another $23 million guaranteed. His annual income is almost $17 million per. Like, at that point, like, that's top 5 safety money as well.
Right.
So with the draft coming up, who we can get in free agency, paying $17 million for a safety, and like I have it up here that he played every snap last year, and he was a team captain. So he was obviously a leader of the team. $17 million, I can get another leader.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. Like even though he's young, he's definitely a bigger blow to go than Saquon is
Yeah,
because he
because
actually
like
stayed healthy.
would you say the safety is like the quarterback of the defense?
It all depends on what type of defense that you're running. Um, Before we got Bobby Okereke, because we actually had this conversation, I went back and listened to or watched some of the show that we had last year,
Yeah,
Mhm.
free agency. We actually talked about Xavier McKinney and his dynamic with Bobby Okereke because 2 years before, Xavier McKinney was the green dot. That means that he was not the leader, quintessential the leader of the team, but he did all the calls.
Right.
Like the coaches is talking to Xavier McKinney, and then he relates all the calls to the defense. So he basically was the leader of the defense.
right.
That's normally that type of responsibility normally goes to your middle linebacker. But Xavier McKinney was so good that he did it. But that was until Bobby Okereke came. So Bobby Okereke, he was another player, one of two players along with Xavier McKinney that played every snap last year. So I think because Bobby Okereke played so well, losing McKinney, made it a little easier because they do still have that leader on the defense that can make the calls and put everybody where they're supposed to be.
Right. His replacement is this guy Jalen Mills, right?
Yes and no. We have Dane Belton still on the roster. He was a safety. He plays both high and strong safety. I think he might be the replacement, or they might move Jason Pinnock to free safety.
Mhm.
We'll talk about Mills because he's on the list of free agents, but he's more like a tweener. Like he came as a corner that moved to safety, and he could play either or.
Right.
But if you're gonna talk about the level of talent and production, I wouldn't necessarily want him to be Xavier McKinney's replacement. Like he's definitely a good pickup, and we'll talk about him a little bit. But I wouldn't consider him a replacement. He's more
But
like a better nickel back, and he could play safety as well. Like he'll be all over the field too.
yeah, but just saving the money because he's definitely not getting paid that 16.
No.
We'll get into depth like when we get to him.
Mhm.
But I can see what the Giants are getting because we can fill in spots, with guys like this with experience and stuff. But
Right.
we have our holes are so big in other places that we really
Right.
needed to allocate that money to different spots.
Right. Part of that is we talked about Nick McLeod in the previous slide with the re-signees.
Mhm.
Um, I told you he was versatile. He plays safety and corner. He could be part of that replacement package as well.
Right.
So Nick McLeod, Jason Pinnock, Dane Belton, all three of those can play free safety, and there's still the draft.
Right.
So yeah, that's Xavier McKinney. We lost him. That was tough. Um, but yeah, we had to push through. So now this is what everybody waiting for, like the players that are actually going to be new to the team. As you can see, it's a lot. Um, we're going to probably sign a few more players, but for now, Devin Singletary, John Runyon, Jermaine Illuminor, and Drew Lock. I have slides for all four of them. We'll talk to them in depth. But so we'll talk about Mills, Isaiah McKenzie, the two guards and the two tight ends that Steph was talking about.
Right.
We'll go from the bottom up. The two tight ends are pretty much just not camp bodies, but they're both blocking tight ends. You're not going to
Well,
see them.
before you get crazy with that, I just want to know your initial reactions because all like especially some of the bigger names, they all got signed on the first day, and the rest of
Mhm.
them got signed basically the second day. So, for me, as like, I'm a Giants fan, but am I a diehard Giants fan? Yes, but there's like levels to it. So
Mhm.
I'm like one of those guys that I see players and I get excited. I'm like, oh snap, we got this guy, I know that guy. And I'm
Right.
reading up, looking at videos, interviews and stuff. So for me, just for the value standpoint for all the guys that we got,
Mhm.
I thought that we did a great job initially. My initial
Right.
reactions.
Right.
So what was your initial reactions?
My initial reaction was good. Steph, you can go first. What was your initial reaction?
I didn't have any because I wasn't. I had heard just a few of the names today. I read some articles, and the Giants got a lot of A's, A minuses for the free agent class up to this point. But I didn't have an initial reaction, to be honest.
Okay. We probably got a lot. I didn't, without reading those same articles that you read, I would guess that they talked about depth a lot because a lot of these players are depth pieces, especially the ones at the bottom. That's why I was going to go from the bottom up. Like the two tight ends are both blocking tight ends. They will both play special teams if they make the team, because most of these players that we're talking about now are like signed for 1 year. Excuse me. Signed for 1 year. So both of these players, one out of Denver, one out of Philly, they're both blocking tight ends. You're not going to see them go out for passes that often, but they can be in the formation, especially, goal line. We have certain type of running formations, but you're not going to see them go out for passes and, kill people downfield that often. If you might not see them on offense at all, they might actually be just all special teamers.
Right.
The two guards that we got from Minnesota and Tampa Bay, it's all about depth, camp bodies. As you can see, we signed 2 offensive linemen at the top of the list. So the 2 at the bottom are pretty much just backups. I think both of them were signed to 1-year deals as well. They're just good depth pieces. Isaiah McKenzie, as we're going up, I put these in order. As we go up, we're going to talk. That's how important they are to the team. Isaiah McKenzie, I think he played 3 years in Buffalo with Brian Daboll, if I'm not mistaken. He wasn't drafted by Buffalo. I think he was drafted by Denver. He stayed there for 1 year, but then he went to Buffalo for like 3. So he was like a slot receiver, kick returner, punt returner type, third down catcher. He's not the type of wide receiver that'll go downfield, kind of like what Wendell Robinson does for us now.
He's a little guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Jarrell
no
said it's about the separation. It's not about the height.
Yeah, it's not about height. It's not about height.
But Steph, man,
I know. I feel the same way, but I'm
He's
just telling you what Jarrell told us last year.
Right. He's a slot receiver. You're not going to see him on the outside. He's not a number 1 wide out that's 6'4". You're not going to see him in the red zone catching a lot of touchdowns. Like he's more of a, I don't know, like a third down guy, somebody in the slot that you can, try to get a mismatch on a linebacker in the middle of the field. And he has, capable hands, but, he's not going to be a starting wide receiver. Let's just say that. He's going to be a special teamer and return kicks and kickoffs and stuff, kicks and punts.
The average lineman, defensive lineman, offensive lineman, linebacker could curl him, bro.
Oh,
he's like 170 something.
Yeah, but you got to think about, look at Wendell Robinson. Wendell Robinson, we got him in the 2nd round. He was probably our best wide receiver last year, and he's about the same size. He might be even a little smaller. Yeah. So it all depends. It's not about size. It's about heart and what you can actually do on the field. Like separation is key in his position. When we talk about the draft and we talk about like the number 1 wide receivers that you pick in the 1st round, completely different story.
Yeah.
That's when you talk about size, measurables, how fast they are, separation as well, and stuff like that. But with a guy like McKenzie, yeah, he's just a slot guy and a returner.
Yeah, that's what I see him as like a Dave Meggett, right? Like
something like that. Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. He might not. He might even come out the backfield just like Wendell Robinson is, and just like Dave Meggett used to. But you're not going to see him with the ball a lot. You might see him on like gadget plays. He's like a specialist.
Right.
Jalen Mills, we talked about him earlier. With New England, he's a tweener, cornerback safety. I think he is going to be in our plans. I think he's going to make the team. That was a good signing. It's not really much to say about him. I do believe he was a 7th-round pick for the Eagles. I remember he went to LSU, but he's not somebody that he wasn't one of the top free agents this year.
Right.
But he is a good piece. I don't think he's going to start. If he does, that's good for him. But I don't think he's going to start. He's going to be a depth piece as well.
That's the Green Goblin, right?
Yeah, he got green hair. He's always had that.
Yeah, he's got to fix that, man.
Right. Yeah, that's all for the free agents that were, I don't have slides for. But now we'll get into some of the ones. I picked these 4, and they're on the top of the list because all of them have a good chance to start. Even Drew Lock at quarterback, and we'll talk about that.
Wow.
Yeah, I got an opinion on that. Go ahead.
So Devin Singletary, our new number 26, because he will be taking over Saquon Barkley's number as well.
Damn.
Damn, right? 26.
Good riddance.
Took his number and everything.
That fast. Even in the press conference, because his number has always been 26. He played in Buffalo with Brian Dable as well.
Mm-hmm.
They drafted him. He was number 26 there. And then last year, he played 1 year on like a prove-it deal with the Texans, and he was number 26 there. So it's not about replacing Saquon. For him, like, that's his number. Yeah. They just so happen to have the same number at the same position. So
all right.
Yeah, initially, man, looking at this guy, Devin Singletary, I know I as soon as they said it, I was like, yes, because he's little, So I mean, running backs is a little bit different, low center of gravity, getting the ball. It's hard to tackle those guys. You're looking at dudes that are like 6'3", 6'4", whatever, around there, looking to tackle a little guy. He's basically down at the waistline. It's hard to do, but outside of that, man, the guy makes cuts like as if he's like, he kind of looks like Jalen Brunson out there when he makes his little jokes and stuff. He makes a stop and kind of does whatever. Super tough. He's like, I'm giving you my scouting report, man. I like this guy, man. I really like him a lot. And the value, like as far as money, is like incredible.
I'm about to say, you taking my job. You know just as much about Devin Singletary as I do. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Ebru know football, man.
I'm like drooling because shout out to Colin Kaepernick with that whole situation and kind of like soured me from the whole conversation, But then through the years now, starting to get the juices back. So I'm like I'm going crazy, man. But
Yeah, see, I think I love football so much. Nothing Colin Kaepernick would have did for me to stop watching football. Hate to say it. I love Colin Kaepernick and the movement and all that, but yeah, I never stopped watching. Like I loved it. Football is too ingrained in my life for me to stop for that.
Yeah, I get that, but the surrounding politics behind it. People didn't get it because it shouldn't have been that drawn out and stuff like that. People just didn't get the basic of it, but it is
like
what it is.
For me, real quick, we'll get off of it. But for me, football wasn't the problem. It was the people trying to interpret what Colin Kaepernick was trying to say was the problem.
Right. Correct.
That was the problem for me. So it wasn't the game itself or the league itself. It was the people outside of the league just making everything sucky for football. Like I'm about the football. I didn't care. Like, not that I didn't care about social justice and stuff like that, but like the politics behind it. Like, we need to talk about football now. Like we could keep all the politics and stuff to your own devices. Like I don't want to have I wasn't trying to have political conversations with people when we was talking about the Giants back then.
Yeah, no doubt. That's how it was too. That's why I couldn't. I just had to unplug it. Right. I just couldn't deal with it.
Right. So yeah, as you can see, like I got his stats up here. That's what he had last year. He wasn't even the starting running back for Houston at first. Like he came in as a backup. Damian Pierce, another young running back that they had, was the starter. He got hurt, so Devin Singletary ended up only starting 10 games, but he's durable. As you can see, he played all 17. He had almost 900 yards and 4 touchdowns. 26 years old. Ebru already talked about how short he was, and he made the postseason every year of his career so far.
That's what's up.
One thing that I want to mention that I don't know. Let me go back a couple slides so you guys can remember these numbers. 3, 37.75, 26 mil. Devin Singletary, 3, 16.5, 9.5 mil. That is why Saquon Barkley plays for the Eagles and Devin Singletary plays for us now.
Yeah, you're talking about value, man. Because I mean, Singletary could literally put up the same numbers that Saquon did.
And just from memory, I haven't looked it up. From my memory, I think their rushing yards is only 70 yards apart from last year. I think
Mhm.
Saquon didn't get 1,000. It was like 9 something. And Devin Singletary didn't even start and got almost 9. So I think Saquon only outrushed him by like 70 yards being a starter.
Yards per carry too.
Yards per carry is about the same, or his might be a little bit better than Saquon's.
Yep.
And Devin Singletary is the quintessential like tandem back. He's somebody that you should pair with somebody else.
Yes.
Meaning, I think we're going to draft a running back, maybe even 2, depending on how they feel about Eric Gray, the rookie running back that they got in the draft last year. But
Yeah.
yeah, Devin Singletary, he's not the type of running back that you should give him all of the carries.
Right. But traditionally too, isn't that how the Yankees? Isn't that how the Giants do it? They usually have a tailback, and then they usually have a brick house dude. Shout out to
Right.
Tiki Barber, and then who was the other guy he was basically a linebacker playing
Well,
running back.
well, with Tiki was pretty much by itself. You talk about after Tiki, you talk about Brandon
Oh,
Jacobs, Derek Ward,
Bradshaw.
Ahmad Bradshaw.
Right.
Like those were the running backs that when we was winning Super Bowls. You're absolutely right. It was Brandon Jacobs,
Yeah.
Derek Ward, and Ahmad Bradshaw.
Well, who was I thinking? I was thinking of Ron. Is it Ron Dane? He
Ron
was
Dane.
like one of the power backs, right?
Yeah,
That
man.
was with Tiki.
Ron Dane is actually from around my area also, and I played high school against him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a year older than me, I believe. But this is way before he won the Heisman Trophy, but he was still a nasty running back in high school.
Sure.
He was just as big in high school as he was when he was in college in the NFL. So
Yeah.
he was. They used to call him the monster back or creature back or something like that. He was all around the paper around here. He went to Overbrook High School.
Yeah, back in then, the internet was still there, but his name, Ron Dane, was in the streets and just
Yep.
in the, in New York. People knew who he was.
Yep,
No?
he was the absolute monster. I learned that firsthand. But yeah, Singletary is our new starting running back. Like I said before, I think we are going to draft somebody. Not saying that we're going to draft somebody in the first 2 rounds. We probably shouldn't, but you can get a starting running back in the 5th round in today's NFL.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So we'll move to John Runyon. I know we're all old enough to know who his father was.
Yeah.
All right. So his father was the right tackle that played for the Eagles that used to go up against Michael Strahan all the time.
Man, that's the football that I love, man. Those days when they have those matchups on the line, you actually knew and cared about the linemen, so
that's what their relationship is so crazy. They were brutal enemies while they played, but they became such good friends that when Michael Strahan retired, he invited John Runyon and his whole family to his Hall of Fame acceptance speech.
Yeah.
So John Runyon Jr., who plays for the Giants now, was there with his, as a little kid, with his dad, cheering on Michael Strahan when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. So he got drafted by Green Bay out of Michigan, 6th round. I wouldn't necessarily say he's as good a player as his dad was, but he's definitely serviceable. For some reason, the guard position, when it comes to free agents, for my knowledge, the numbers are a little bit inflated for some reason. I don't know why guards all of a sudden is getting more money, but 3 years, $30 million, that's a big number for a guard.
Wow.
Especially when I talk about the next person who is actually probably might be a better player than him, an Illuminor. But yeah, John Runyon got what he got. 26 years old. Started all 17 games, so is a durability factor there. I do know that when he first came into the league, he played left guard, but then they moved him to the right. Now we don't know exactly what position he will be playing, right or left side, and I'll get a little bit into that a little bit later after I talk about Illuminor. But for now, John Runyon, I will pencil him in as our starting right guard. And he definitely will be serviceable, especially if he stays healthy. I think he'll be pretty good. He's more of a blocking better blocker than he is a run blocker, though.
Yeah.
Pass blocker. I mean, he's a better pass blocker than run blocker. That's why I say he ranked in the top 10 when it came to his position and pass blocking efficiency.
Yeah, when you're running across these names, and one thing that they keep talking about, I hear other people talking about it, is just the rooms.
Mhm.
Like the linebackers rooms, not the offensive lineman room.
Mhm.
It just improved the room. A guy like
Yes.
John Runyon, him being there, and also the next guy that you're going to talk about, they improved the room.
That fast, yes.
You got to have those conversations. Everybody has. It's like like I try to explain people that like basketball and they try to say they know football. You really don't, because the offensive lineman is basically like the Knicks, the starting five. You got five guys and more plus their bench. That's only one part of the team.
Right.
So each like section of the team has to have a room where that's how it develops, and that's how the team gets better.
Right. Like the first two linemen that we signed, they're both going to start.
Yeah.
I just don't know personally where they're going to start at, because one good thing about Runyon and Illuminor, who we're going to talk about, matter of fact, I'll slide it's enough with him. Jermaine Illuminor, 2 years for $14 million. He's only getting $7 million per, compared to 3 for $30 for Runyon. Drafted in 5th round by Baltimore. He's under 30 as well. And he ranked 24th off tackles. But the good thing when it comes to pass efficiency, but the good thing with Illuminor and John Runyon, they interchange positions so well. Like Runyon could play left and right guard. Jermaine Illuminor he played right tackle last year, but he also has experience with left guard and right guard. Right. So and left tackle. So he could play both tackle positions and both guard positions.
Yeah.
For us, that's huge, because we had a huge durability problem last year when it came to the line. So you could pretty much stick him anywhere.
Speaking of huge, that dude's head is like, Jesus Christ. He's like the juggernaut, the way how big his head is, man.
Right.
He tried to give a press conference. He was talking, and then like people were roasting. Did you see that on Twitter? They were roasting his head on Twitter, man. So it was so bad that he had to come out with a post saying, "Damn, son, I should have wore a hat. Next time you'll have a hat, in his pocket to put on when he does one of those press conferences."
Well, I'm sure he's used to these jokes, especially our sense kind of humor, because he's originally from London, right? But he moved to Jersey when he was 14. So he actually went to high school here. So as you can see, I could barely fit his big ass head in that little box.
Yeah.
That little octagon that I got up there. Yeah, he's pretty tough, man. I actually like him. He started for the most part. You see, he played all 17 games, so that's how good he was at the line. But he only started 14 of them, and I think those are that right tackle. For us, go ahead, Ebro.
Well, I was just gonna say, just you mentioned that he came over to Jersey from England.
Mhm.
Runyon also, they have roots in Jersey. Also, he grew up in Jersey too. So that's another sneaky thing that the Giants are doing here. Just bringing guys in here that have pride, in the area, pride in the team. They grew up Giants fans. This guy here, he said the first time that he saw football was the Giants.
Yep.
Because he was playing rugby and stuff like that. He said growing up.
Yep.
So the first time he saw an NFL game was against the Giants. It was a Giants team against somebody else. So these guys have like literally the soul of the Giants inside of them. You know what I'm saying? Especially Runyon. The history there. So I just think that's incredible there. It's like a really, really sneaky thing there the Giants did. And plus we got them. Well, you said the money. The money is kind of funny, but still, I think it's worth it.
Definitely worth it. I'm so proud of you, Ebro.
I'm trying to tell you, man.
I was going to mention that too. The first game that he ever saw was the Giants and the Dolphins, I think.
Yeah,
I read and saw all of that too, and I'm glad you actually caught up to all that, man. I'm glad you actually getting in tune with all these players, man, because all that stuff it means something when you actually do the research and know how. Like all of these dudes are people.
Yeah,
like they all have backgrounds, and their backgrounds matter.
Right.
You might not think it matters because a lot of people might not think it matters because there's so many personalities and players on their football team. Like it's a 53-man roster plus the practice squad plus all the coaching staff and trainers and stuff. You got like 300 people in that building.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi bill is crazy, probably.
So a lot of all the backgrounds and stuff like that matters. Like this dude, like you said, has pride in this area. Him and Runyon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm trying to say, is there anything else about Luminar? Yeah. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. He started at right tackle, so we have a little bit of a right tackle problem by the name of Evan Neal.
Lord.
Evan Neal has been
No, we can't hear you.
mic check, mic check. You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Is it me?
Eru say he can hear me. I don't know. Everybody in the chat, mic check, mic check. Steph, you still can't hear me?
Yeah, Steph might be having an issue. I definitely hear you.
Yeah, I think I'm good, Steph. You want to go out and come back in? I don't know. I didn't press anything. You know me, usually my fat fingers, I would have clicked Steph off or something. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever happened in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I just want to ask Steph too, because Steph is she works in the psychology field, so just what we were talking about, Evan Neal, I would have wanted to see her opinion on that. What does she think about Evan Neal, and just for somebody his prospects being so high and for him to fail like this,
I want to actually know, because they do have sports psychologists. They have that like in every professional sports league, and they have it in the NBA. I think they talk about Julius Randle went to one for the Knicks. They have one for anybody who wants it when it comes to professional sports, and football definitely have it. Like you have to have some type of with all the personalities in the building, like you said, having somebody professional that you can talk to when it comes to mental health and stuff like that. That's paramount. Like you have to have something like that. Like I'm glad that the NFL and other. Let me get Steph back in here.
Hear them at all.
Mic check. Steph, you hear me? We can hear you.
Hey, Steffi.
Steph still can't hear us. I heard her though.
Yeah, I can hear her great. Yeah.
Okay.
Steph, can you hear us?
I wonder if Steph hit something on her controller.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, because we can still hear her. Don't say nothing crazy, Steph, but she can't hear me.
It's just gonna be like, son of a.
You know what I'm saying? Like you mother. Like she can't hear us.
I can hear you now.
Okay, we good.
Excellent.
I hit the mute button by mistake.
Aha! There you go.
My keyboard pushed up against it. Hit the mute.
You know what's crazy? If you were able to hear us, that's exactly what Eru said you did.
Yeah, it happens. This is YouTube live TV, man. So it's hard to, we don't have a programmer in the back controlling things, man. So things happen like that.
Like y'all saw how the show started, but anyways, Eru, Steph, Eru wanted to ask you a question about you being you're in the mental health field, right? Or some type of health field.
Yeah.
So we was talking about how athletes, mainly we're talking about the NFL, but all professional sports team have it, like sports psychologists and stuff like that. And how Evan Neal, how it might help Evan Neal go through what he's going through right now.
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure how they do it. If they have two types of psychologists, the sports psychologist that's focused on performance, and do they use a different psychologist, say if a person is depressed or anxious or whatever, or do they use the same psychologist? But because a lot of times if you're not performing well, that can lead to depression. Depending on how they deal with the disappointment or the expectations. So not sure if it's the same person or they refer the person out. But to your point, Evan Neal, is it?
He doesn't seem like he was taking it well, because remember he lashed out at fans one time.
He
talk
did.
about like lions and sheep and stuff. He playing like a lizard. I don't know what he was talking about.
But is there a difference, Jarrell? Like I get it. Like some people where they have the talent, they have the skill, it's not translating for whatever reason. And that can be mental, like you're saying, in need of a sports psychologist. But how many people are just not that good? Like we thought they were good, and then when they got here, they just wasn't. Which one do you think it is mostly? It's just that something mental is getting in the way, or because you think about how many players who we thought would be great, or not even great,
You
could play at this level, and they just don't make it.
right. You talk about with him specifically.
With him specifically, or just in general, do you think it's pretty much always if you're drafted, you pretty much can play on this level, and if you're not getting it done, it's something mental going on.
Oh no, I don't think that at all. I think the
Sometimes
draft,
it's just mistakes.
yeah, the draft is a complete crapshoot.
Okay.
Because that's one thing I want to talk about when we get into the draft portion, like towards the end. We're not that far from it, but talk about the draft portion and these quarterbacks that's coming out, or any position really. It's such a crapshoot, and it's so many quote unquote busts because fans and the NFL think of prospects completely differently. Like for us, all we look at as what they did in college.
Mm-hmm.
With the NFL, like Joe Shane is like you can care about what they did in college when it comes to like where they played, the competition, but when it comes to production, games won, how they played, you're not drafting them because of that. You're drafting them for future performance and what they can do for you and how you can coach them up for your team.
Right.
That's why a lot of Heisman Trophy winners don't end up being good NFL players because it doesn't. The NFL has nothing to do with the Heisman Trophy or college football. It's the same sport, two different levels. The level is so vast that it doesn't matter what you did in college at all. You could
Right.
be the best wide receiver in the country in college, go to the NFL and not catch a pass for your
Mm.
whole career or not be drafted at all. That's happened
Charlie
before.
Charlie Ward, we had that, with us here in New
Exactly.
York. Charlie Ward won the Heisman Trophy, ends up being the starting point guard for the Knicks. So it's
Right, right. Starting point guard for the Knicks. Eric Crouch won the Heisman Trophy, quarterback from Nebraska. He ended up being a safety in the NFL.
wow.
How much of that is lack of talent? How much of it, particularly in quarterbacks at that time, was him being a person of color?
Hmm.
And I'm talking Charlie Ward, particularly back then.
Hmm.
But how much of it was just legit? He just wasn't good enough to be a quarterback in the NFL.
I personally don't think his Charlie Ward was my favorite quarterback. I'm a Florida State fan, and I went there. Charlie Ward was my favorite quarterback growing up. Right. Didn't really like him as the point guard for my New York Knicks, but as the quarterback for football standpoint, I didn't expect him to be drafted. At the time, I was young, I was a teenager, but looking back at it, I see why he didn't get drafted. Like the arm strength, I don't think was there. Who knows that he was able to run a professional offense because the offense that Florida State ran, he was in the shotgun a lot. That was like back then in the mid '90s. That was before the NFL started doing stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like he was never under center.
Right.
So that's why when you hear quarterbacks coming out now, they say they run a pro style offense.
Mm-hmm.
That just means that they were under the center in college
Right.
instead of just being in the shotgun. Most of the times now, colleges, their quarterbacks are always in the shotgun. So they don't know the footwork it takes to go from center to have a 7-step drop and get the ball out by the time you hit that 7th step.
Right.
So that's what pro style offense means when it comes. Like we'll talk about the quarterbacks later, but JJ McCarthy is a perfect example of that. He is the only quarterback out of the quarterbacks that are projected to be in the first round that ran a pro system.
He's also old. Is he older? He's older than the rest of them, right?
Mm-mm.
No.
He's not older. He's not older, but even though he ran a pro style offense, he's also the most. I don't know like he doesn't have that much production. He wasn't asked to throw the ball 50 times a game like Caleb Williams. He handed the ball off. His team won the national championship, and it wasn't because of him at all. It wasn't because of his talent. He does have talent, but he didn't have a chance to showcase it like the other quarterbacks did, just out of how many times they threw the ball.
Right.
He wasn't asked to win games. They ran the ball and played defense like an NFL team.
Right.
So he was more like I don't like Brock Purdy for San Francisco,
Okay.
opposed to somebody like Patrick Mahomes that go out and win games for you. He was like a system quarterback. So that's why a lot of people can't wrap their head around him being picked before somebody like Michael Penix, who was in the Heisman Trophy race, has, 1,000 touchdowns, 8,000 yards, some crazy numbers like that. But he's a better professional prospect because of other stuff like the intangibles and stuff. But the answer your question, Steph, it could be either or, whether it's physical and mental. It could be a little bit of both. It could be one-sided. He could just not be good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with mental. When it comes to Evan Neal, it's a little bit of both, I think. I think he definitely does not take failing well because he's always been successful.
Right.
He's never failed at football ever in his life. He's
Right.
always been the biggest, strongest, fastest kid on the field.
Right.
Now it seems that he's too slow-footed to play the position that he plays now. So that's why I was going to mention with Luminor and John Runyon both playing guards. I believe that, and not just that I believe, we finally got confirmation that the Giants talked to Evan Neal's team about him moving inside.
They have.
Yes. Jordan Renan, beat writer for the Giants, came out a couple days ago saying the Giants finally reached out to his team to switch or think about switching. Like, to my knowledge and what Jordan Renan said, that they're giving him the right tackle position to lose. But if he loses it, he loses it. It's no more, we just going to stick him here because we drafted him at
Right.
7.
Right.
That's why they bring Jermaine Illuminor in, because he was a better right tackle than Evan Neal last year.
Yeah.
So, but he can still, both of them can play guard. Well, he can play guard. We don't know if Evan Neal can play guard yet. So in training camp, if Illuminor beats him out for that position, he has to kick in. But if not, Jermaine Illuminor could play guard.
Right.
So, and it's not even the right-hand side. They asked him to switch they're asking Evan Neal to switch, or at least I would think that he would go to the left side with Thomas, with Andrew Thomas. Because that would put him next to somebody who, I don't know, same type of body style, and plus they're both athletic over there. And Andrew Thomas is an all-pro. So if anybody that can help him in that position, to have somebody right beside him, is Evan Neal, since he's so young.
Maybe Evan Neal needs better glasses or something, man, because it seems like he's blind. He has a really bad blind spot. Because sometimes like guys just blow past him and he's like he don't even see him. I feel bad for the quarterbacks that we've had, the last few years, man. They was getting blindsided, because of him a lot.
That's the slow-footedness that I was talking about. Like, he doesn't get out of his stance quick enough in order, like somebody that's fast. Like, we're going to talk about Brian Burns.
Yeah.
Somebody like Brian Burns will fly right past Evan Neal every time.
Yeah.
Or it's like, say, if he had to go against Kayvon Thibodeau in practice. I know Kayvon Thibodeau probably whooping his ass in practice.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Andrew Thomas, Kayvon Thibodeau, I've seen with my own 2 eyes at the training camp, they had on NFL Network, Andrew Thomas just completely wiping out Kayvon Thibodeau. Evan Neal can't do that.
Right.
He's not quick enough.
Yeah.
I think that's part of his frustration too.
Right.
He getting waxed in practice and in the game.
Yep. So when you're a top 10 pick, and not only are you a top 10 pick, you're a top 10 pick for us in the New York market. We're going to talk about you.
Right.
Like, he didn't get drafted by like the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
Don't nobody know what their media team look like.
Or cares. Right.
Or care. Like, you're not like in the middle of Wisconsin somewhere. So our offensive line, I think them getting Runyon and Jermaine Illuminor completely changes our offensive line. Like, our offensive line is going to, the only 2 positions that's going to be the same as last year is Andrew Thomas at left tackle. He's not going anywhere. He's one of the best in the league. And our rookie center, John Michael Schmitz. He had his problems last year, but he's a rookie. He's supposed to have his problems. I think moving forward, he's going to be solid. So those are the only 2 positions on our offensive line that's set. Everything else can change.
I mean, that's exciting, man. I mean, I like the mental aspect of it, man. Because
Mhm.
as they're talking, I'm thinking about because I can't really think too many football players because I'm not really in tune like that. But just
Mhm.
so many basketball players, like if they had somebody to talk to, could their careers have shifted a little bit? You know, like
Right,
that's I
But
guess that's another part for another day, right?
right.
yeah, but
It's
I
not.
think also part of, I mean, just like human beings in therapy, you could talk, but what are you gonna do
Right.
about it?
That's true.
Because sometimes is for some people just getting it off their chest frees them up, and now they can go and perform. But for others is about what are you gonna do?
Right.
Okay, you understand what it is, you understand what it's where it's coming from, but now you're gonna have to do things differently. And some people have different blocks for doing it differently. They don't feel like it, they feel embarrassed, they don't- what, whatever, whatever is getting in the way. But for Evan though, what's your gut feeling? And excuse me if you said it already and I wasn't paying attention.
Mhm.
Do you think it's mental for him, or do you think he just not that dude and we made him we just thought he would? Because remember, it wasn't just the Giants. If you're a
Mhm.
top 10 pick,
Mhm.
that means a lot of franchises, if not every franchise, thought you were gonna be good.
Yeah, I think he has all the tools. To answer your question, I just think physically he's not quick enough to handle his position. But
You didn't know
mentally,
that?
nah, you sometimes you don't know until you actually get to the league and you actually have, you know, NFL caliber pass rushers killing you every game. And plus remember
It's true.
that he moved positions too. He was a left tackle in college. A lot of people don't know how hard it is to move positions. Just like him kicking it in the inside doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be successful either.
Right.
It's just a position he can't do nothing else. Like he either going to have to be the right tackle for the New York Giants, right guard, left guard. That's it. Those are his
Don't be
only
like
three
what
options.
what was the one who we drafted and he wound up going to Washington? Please don't be
Oh
him.
man, hey, talk about Eric Flowers. He's a one,
Yes, do
another one.
not
Oh
be
my
Eric
God.
Fuller.
He was a left tackle. He wasn't that good. Same kind of thing with Evan Neal, but it was even worse that time because he was the left tackle with Eli's blind spot.
Yeah.
So,
Flowers is crazy.
so now he goes to a different team. Finally, he gets kicked inside because he wasn't willing to do that with us. A lot of players aren't willing to do that. Evan Neal might. I said that Jordan Renan had said the Giants reached out to his people. We didn't get the response. You can ask me you can ask me to do something all you want. I don't have to change my position, and if I don't have to, you can trade me, you can cut me, even though they're not going to do that because of what they got him for, the seventh pick. But yeah, I don't have to do that. Even if I didn't want to start, I could just be the backup right tackle if I want to stay at that position and move on to another team to start somewhere else.
Mm.
Like he doesn't have to say yes to that.
He's a big dude, man. 6'7". Man, I wish that he would pan out because I mean, physically he's a monster.
Right.
No?
And plus, we
He's
have to.
6'7"?
Yeah, he about 6'6", 6'7". He big as hell.
Evan,
Yeah, he
boy,
was
you better
huge
get yourself together. He's 6'7".
and athletic too. But we have to remember how young these dudes are too. Evan Neal is like 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
And he's been in the league. This is about to be his third year. So he's been in the league since he was 20, 21 years old. So if you've been successful everywhere that you've been at sports since you was 8, and you go into like you're 20 and you're 21, you get to the NFL and you're deemed as a failure mentally. Yes, that takes a lot on a person, whether he was strong-willed or not.
Yeah. That's tough.
Now we're
Makes
on to
sense.
Drew Lock. This is, as you can see, 1 year for $5 million. So obviously we're paying him backup quarterback money because Daniel Jones is making 40.
Mm.
Let's just keep it real. But one good thing about Drew Lock that's how I know that this front office does their homework, because Drew Lock came out the same year as Daniel Jones, and they were actually, like I put up here, they were in the Senior Bowl. I misspelled senior. Senior Bowl, they were roommates. So they came out the same draft class. They were both drafted in the first round. Um, and now they're teammates. So they have a connection there. Um, we actually got some action from Drew Lock personally from us when we played Seattle. And Geno Smith went down, and Drew Lock came in and played a little bit, and Seattle killed us.
I remember that. Yeah.
Right. So, but he, as you can see from the numbers, he only played 4 games. You see the numbers right there. He's a marginal quarterback. He's a backup quarterback, even though he was picked in the first round with Daniel Jones. If you think Daniel Jones kind of fell with the Giants, that's how much he actually fell with the Denver Broncos. And he was well off that team already. This is his 3rd team. And him and Daniel Jones came out the same year. So that's how fast it can happen when you're the quarterback picked in the first round to be the franchise quarterback. Now you're the backup for somebody that got drafted at the same time as you.
Yeah. So that's another little tricky thing there. Throw this guy that used to be your roommate as your backup quarterback. That's got to play around with your mentals too, you know.
Right.
Like, you know, the
Exactly.
Giants are playing around with these guys. You know, one thing I want to say about Drew Lock, man, like he's you know, he's not that good, man, but he has like the he just has like the mentality of a gunslinger. Like he wants to
Yes.
be a gunslinger so bad, but his body doesn't really agree with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. I'm interested with this pick.
Right. Well, I don't know about his body because the physical tools is actually there. He has a strong arm. Like his arm, when it comes to arm talent, him and Daniel Jones' arm talent are comparable. They both have strong arms. Even if you just want to talk about like just pushing the ball downfield.
Yeah.
The only thing about him, like you said, with the gunslinger mentality, Drew Lock will push it downfield, but Daniel Jones wouldn't.
Right.
They both have 2 different type of mentalities, even though the physical traits are kind of similar. Both of them are like 6'4", as you can see. Drew Lock is 6'4", 230 pounds. Like he's a big dude, nice, has a nice arm, but mentally, how fast does he decipher a defense and get it to the open man? Like he doesn't process fast, just like Daniel Jones does. So I actually think that it's good that they got him because we don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be healthy for the rest of the season,
Right.
or at least the beginning of the season. And one thing that I wanted to mention that Daniel Jones' contract, like say if he gets hurt, I know we're out. We can have an out for him at the end of this coming year. But if he gets hurt, his 2025 contract is guaranteed.
Wow.
If he's hurt,
if he doesn't pass a physical in 2025, whether he plays for us or anybody else, we owe him that money.
I mean,
So they have to keep Daniel Jones healthy. So not only do I expect us to draft a quarterback, say if Daniel Jones is healthy enough to start the season, no way in hell he finishes the season. Because if he gets hurt, we have to pay him that money. That's how his contract is laid out.
Right.
Like we wouldn't be out of his contract then if he gets hurt again.
So something's fishy here. Is Daniel Jones like mom's maiden name? Related to somebody down the line, and they're just trying to give these guys money? Because that's crazy, man.
That's just how the contracts are. Certain type of contracts, because it just is what it is. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. They get paid a lot of money.
Mm.
And Daniel Jones isn't even, he's not making top 5 money. He's not making top 10 money. I don't think. He's kind of in the middle.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go get the football. I'm gonna go to the back get some throws in.
Right. We just talk about Daniel Jones' money because we don't deem him good enough to actually make that $40 million. But for a starting quarterback, he's supposed to be getting paid that much if you're a starter. And a starter that's supposed to be a starter going forward.
Wow.
That's how much it is.
Mm. Mm.
So Drew Lock is here for insurance. So let's just say we have a rookie, Drew Lock, and Daniel Jones. If I'm the Giants, I'm not playing Daniel Jones. I'm not playing. I will Probably play him in the beginning of the season, but after a couple games, depending on how he plays, obviously, then no, we got to shut him down. I don't care what the reason is, because if he gets hurt again, can't pass the physical the following year, I think we're on a hook for like $50-something million for him.
Man.
Listen, forget not sitting. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Wait.
You know, my screen disappeared and I can't find it on this. I'm using the Mac.
What?
And the screen just disappeared. I'm all around looking for. I can't find it, but I can hear you guys. You guys can hear me.
Yeah, we got you, sir.
Listen, forget shutting them down. Why even start Daniel Jones up? I
At
actually
all?
feel like it's over.
Yeah.
Play Drew Lock. Played for what 3-4 games till the rookie quarterback. Hopefully
Right.
he's ready by the 5th game or something. I think I've seen enough of Daniel Jones, and he's coming off an injury.
Right.
And he's
ACL.
injury prone, in my opinion.
Yep.
You know, I've seen two like interviews where Locke they asked him about his thing, but he was saying that it was to his knowledge that he was going to be competing for the quarterback spot. But then he said they asked him again later on, and then he said, "Oh well, you know, they told me that I was good." But then he's like copping a plea now, like kind of like, what they told me that I'm going to be the backup quarterback. You know,
They told him to clean that shit up the first time. That's
Right.
yeah,
That's all
because
that.
he was implying that he had a shot to be the starting quarterback.
Because he does.
Yeah.
But they don't want. For one, he shouldn't have said that anyway, because you don't know what I'm gonna do in the draft,
Right.
and I don't want anybody else to know what I'm gonna do in the draft.
Right.
So when it comes to actually drafting a quarterback, and we'll get to that because we might be leapfrog for all the quarterbacks that we want anyway.
Oh boy.
I don't want him saying that. Yeah, I don't want him saying anything about starting, bench. Don't say nothing. You signed to us. That's it. For now, at least.
I see a theme. The Giants are they got some shenanigans going here, man. A lot of shenanigans with the offensive line, the little bit of defensive line too, and now the quarterback situation. They're forward thinking and very sneaky with what they're doing. You know?
Yep. I agree with you.
I like
Definitely
it.
agree with you. Definitely agree. But that's Drew Lock. There's really nothing to say about him. It's not a quarterback or a name that you could be like, yay, Drew Lock is our starting quarterback. He's like, at this point in his career, he's a journeyman backup that, you want him to be the starter if you want to draft a quarterback or if you have a rookie coming up behind him. Like, he's the perfect quarterback for that.
Right. Awesome.
Now, the man of the hour. We traded for Brian Burns. Brian Burns is 25 years old. We traded a second-round pick, our second-round pick. We had 2 second-round picks because we got one from Seattle for the Leonard Williams trade. That is 47, I believe. But we traded ours, which is 39. So we traded that and a 5th-round pick for next year. Drafted out of Florida State the same year as Drew Lock and Daniel Jones. I do believe Devin Singletary might have came out of that draft too. So it's a growing theme when it comes to the ages of all these players. All of them are in their mid-20s. So I learned that too. A lot of them have been drafted either in 2019. Runyon was drafted in 2020. Like, they're all around the same age. With him, I forgot what pick in the second round, but he is a 1st-round pick from Carolina.
Number 39.
He was in the 1st round.
Oh,
What was he
Burns?
Picked? Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, so I don't know what pick he was in the 1st round that year, but I think he either got picked right before Dexter Lawrence, because remember, we got Dexter Lawrence in that draft too.
Right.
I think he might have got picked right before
he was 16.
Because as a Florida State fan, I actually wanted Brian Burns. So I actually wanted him. I think he got picked before us, and then we got Dexter Lawrence, so I wasn't upset. But I actually wanted Brian Burns in that draft. Who I didn't want in that draft was Daniel Jones. He was actually a shock. I wanted Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, to be honest. I wanted to, build our defense up. But we got Daniel Jones. Brian Burns was picked before we picked again. I actually think he would have been the pick, or he was actually linked to him, but he was picked ahead of us. We got Dexter Lawrence as a defensive tackle. So he signed for 5 years, up to $150 million, for almost 90
Mm,
guaranteed. He almost has a $30 million average. 6'5", 250, Pro Bowler in 2 years. He's only 25 years old, like I said, so he hasn't even hit his prime yet. Um, I really, really like this trade. I think he is one of the best young pass rushers in the game. And one thing I wanted to say, his salary equals Saquon's and Xavier McKinney's, pretty
Mm,
much.
yeah.
right.
The amount of guaranteed money that they got and his annual salary, if you actually equal up those two positions, they got rid of those two positions just to invest it in a pass rusher. And if the pass rusher is only 25 years old, two Pro Bowls, I'm completely fine with that because pass rusher is a premium position when safety and running back isn't.
Excellent. Trayvon Thibodeau finally came, became who he's supposed to be. So
Mhm.
between, if you got one, it's good to have one on the other side. If you have that, now you have an elite defense. At least an
Right,
elite defensive line. Sexy
right.
Dex is there, and a couple other guys too. So I mean, I'm excited about that. Really excited about that.
We still have Aziz Odolari, our second round pick from a few years ago before Kayvon Thibodeau. He's injury prone, so this might be his last year here. I
Yeah,
don't expect him to sign a big contract here, but we still have him at least for this year. So if he can stay a little bit healthy, look at the pass rushing rotation that we have.
yeah,
Like we have, because of this move, we really have a top five defensive line in the entire league, not just the division or the conference. We have a top five, if not maybe top two or three defensive line in the whole league with this move.
yeah. It's excellent, man. It reminds me of our Super Bowl guys. We
Right.
had we had a decent rotation in our linemen back then. '07. You want to talk about?
Yep. We
We
had
some
Strahan, Justin Tuck, OCU Manura.
Yeah, Justin Tuck.
So they pretty much trying to have the same type of blueprint. We just don't have Eli Manning. You know what I'm saying? So it's you got to start from somewhere.
Yeah,
So
but
Brian,
To add,
tradition. Go ahead, Steph.
can you go back to the prior slide? He
sure.
was a Pro Bowl in 2021 and 2022.
Mhm.
What's been going on with him since then? Is he still an elite pass rusher, but not Super Bowl, Pro Bowl level? Like, what's been going on the past 2 years?
Um, I think well, it's 1 year. It's just 2023. Remember we in 24 and it didn't happen
Okay,
yet.
yeah,
So
that's true.
he
Okay,
just missed it last year. And I
okay,
think it's not like he had a bad year last year. I just think he just didn't make it because somebody else did.
okay.
Um, but yeah, he's still the same Brian Burns. I think if anything, he's going to get better,
It's
not
exciting.
worse. And I actually have his stats here. Maybe like he
Yeah,
only
just
had
notes.
he only had 8 sacks last year. Maybe that's why he didn't make the Pro Bowl. But he still played 16 games. So I put the games on the side there because those are the games he started. But I think he played almost every game every season he's been in the league. I think he only missed like a few games because of injury. Playing like 16 or 17 games a year as a pass rusher. Um, yeah, that's great. Like we're not used to that. Like we always have durability problems. So here's a guy that actually stays healthy. He's only 25 years old.
Yeah.
And on any given year, he could be a double-digit sack guy.
Mm.
Yeah,
And those are the cap hits. Because of the signing bonus, that's why his cap hit is only 15 mil this year, but it's obviously going to double for the rest of the time. But if you actually add up Saquon's and Xavier McKinney's, it almost equals up to Brian Burns, and that's why they pretty much traded both of those players for him
Right.
when it comes to the salary cap. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. Um, like I said, we have one of the best defensive lines in the league. Like putting him because at this point I think he's a better player than Kayvon Thibodeau is. He's a better pass rusher at least. I don't know. Kayvon Thibodeau might be a better run defender because I think he really excels in that. But when it comes to actually getting to the quarterback, Kayvon Thibodeau isn't better than Brian Burns, at least not yet.
Right.
So if you have both of them and Dexter Lawrence coming in the middle, like we're going to sack the quarterback a lot this year, or at least you have the quarterback. Even if we don't get a lot of sacks, our defense is going to be a problem up front.
Yeah. And you can't load up on him either.
Right. You can't double team him if he's going to be standing right next to Dexter Lawrence.
Absolutely.
Or maybe you can't, well,
somebody getting loose.
Yeah, somebody getting loose.
All of them.
I'm definitely, now that I think about it, I'm definitely doubling up on Dexter Lawrence. Now that I think about it in the middle, like he is.
Like you said, if you do that, but you got Spider-Man on that side, man.
Right. See, look at Eru doing the homework. Like I said, here's the thing. Like he's not Donovan Mitchell, but he's been called Spider ever since he was at Florida State. Like Spider-Man was, is his favorite Marvel character, whatever. He does the sack. When he gets a sack, he actually does a little Spider-Man stance or whatever. So they actually call him Spider Burns. Look at Eru. I told you, I'm proud of you, man.
I like the nickname, but I don't want him to do that Spider-Man pose when he gets a sack. I don't really like it too much.
Why? Like
it's cringe a little bit because he's too big to be doing stuff like that, man. It's like,
see, I get it. What do you mean we do? You can't be too big to be doing stuff like that. If I do something, do a Spider-Man pose, you gonna say I'm too big to do it?
Man, you ain't gonna be able to get up if you try to do that.
You might be right. See, I'm not Brian Burns. At least he can get up when you do it. Like you said, if I did it, my fat ass might stay down there for a little bit. You might have to help me up.
I wanted to ask you about the other, some other guys like Raheem Nunez, whatever his last name is.
Nacho.
Okay.
Yeah, we got him last year. Like he's still on the team.
So what do you think about him in the mix there with those three guys?
Well, I mean, he's good, but he's more of a backup piece too. I'm not sure that he's going to start. I don't really know yet because we still have a couple other defensive tackles that are more run stuffers, but he's a run stuffer as well. Like our pass rushers, the players that are going to hit the quarterback is Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Brian Burns, and Dexter Lawrence in the middle. Once you get to like Nacho, we have a guy DJ Davidson, and we have Jordan Riley. All three of them are like run stuffers. They're not going to be rushing the quarterback, but they definitely are essential to our rush defense.
I'm excited, man.
I like Jordan Riley. I think he's going to be. I think he can be a starting caliber defensive tackle moving forward. But he's young. He's raw. We got him like in the 6th or 7th round last year. I don't remember it, but it was late. He's just a big, strong kid, man. He just needs to learn how to play football better. That's all. But when it comes to the physical stuff, he can move people around. Let's just say that he's huge.
Yeah, that's exciting. So Jordan Riley. So you got Spider-Man and Riley. Riley is the what do you call it? The twin or the
Ben Riley.
Ben Riley. Spider-Man stuff. Sorry.
Yeah. We nerd now with comic book stuff now.
Where do you think the Giants are? Like, are the Giants trying to take the next step, or are the Giants knowing that they're going to bring in a rookie quarterback, kind of feeling that they might take a step back? Like, what do you think they're doing? Because making these signings, like revamping the offensive line, going after pass rushers, make you think they're trying to take the next step. But you got an injured Daniel Jones. You're bringing in a Drew Lock, who's not a franchise quarterback, and then you might be drafting a rookie. What are we doing?
Unfortunately, it's the latter. Like we are in the roster building process.
Yeah.
Like I said, like out of 5 offensive lineman positions, we only have 2 starters right now where you know where they're going to be. Our defensive line, like I said, is going to be one of the best in the league. Our starting linebackers, Bobby Okereke and
McFadden,
yes, Michael McFadden. Sorry, Michael McFadden. They were both serviceable. They both could be our starting linebackers. We are okay with that. We're above average in linebacker now. Cool. Our defensive backfield, that might, that's what we need to work on. Like we have Banks. Still, he was a promising rookie last year. We have a Trey Hawkins was a good rookie last year too, but I still don't know if he's a starter yet. But when it comes to like slot corner And now that we have McKinney missing, yeah, our defensive backfield is what we need to work on. It's a huge question mark
Right.
compared to the other positions. When it comes to offense, when I said the premium positions, you can't make a playoff run or know that you're going to make a playoff run with no franchise quarterback, and we do not have a number one wide receiver or pass catcher.
Right.
So until we get both of those, you shouldn't think that even if we did make the playoffs, it'll be like making the playoffs 2 years ago when we beat Minnesota.
Right.
Like first round, after first round, we out of here.
Right.
Like we're not going to go far without a good quarterback and a good wide receiver. That in today's NFL, you have to have both for the
Right.
most part.
So all of that being said, though, let me ask you this:
Mhm.
is the trading for Burns, is this similar to basketball? Whereas when you building a basketball team, if you know you still rebuilding a roster, like you're not bringing in a finishing, like you're not bringing in like a high priced, you know, player because you rebuilding. Is it
Mhm.
different in football where you can be in rebuilding mode and bring in somebody like Burns? Like that's part of roster building, or would he be a finishing piece?
You could in football it's a little bit different because you could do a little bit of both. For example, you could be like us who's still building the foundation, but look at the foundation that we've built. And when it comes to premium positions, we got edge rusher in him, Brian Burns. We
Mhm,
have one of the best defensive tackles in the league clogging up the middle. That's a premium position.
mhm,
We have a left tackle in Andrew Thomas, who is a top five at his position. That's a premium position.
mhm,
So even though you have those premium positions filled, it's more premium positions in football than it is in basketball. There is no premium position in basketball. If you're the best at your position, it is what it is. Whether you're a center, small forward, doesn't matter.
right,
Like if Giannis is a power forward, cool, he's premium position. Jalen Brunson for us, point guard. It just depends on the player.
right,
In football, your premium position is the premium position. That's why we got rid of Saquon Barkley because he's not a premium position at that price. So we still need a quarterback and a wide receiver or a good pass catcher. It doesn't have to be a wide receiver.
mhm.
Like our tight end name escapes me.
Bellinger,
Bellinger.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
a stole.
Nah, the one
One
that
of the new ones or the old?
the one we signed last year, traded for last year, number 12.
Oh,
Why I
is he
can't
gonna retire, man? Is Darnell,
Darnell? His name ain't no damn Darnell. What you say?
Daryl, something like that, right?
His
Oh,
name
I
is
know what you're talking. The one from San Diego,
the Raiders.
the
The Raiders, yeah.
Raiders. Yeah, it's we saw we not signing him back.
Nah, he's still under contract. He's
Is
still
he
in the
gonna
con-
retire? Is he gonna retire, bro?
Here's the thing. He doesn't. I don't think they know yet, so he doesn't know. Uh, I don't know, man. Like as we don't have the quarterback for, and he keeps getting hurt. So we might need a quarterback, wide receiver, and a tight end. But you can get away with not having like a premium tight end. Um, but yeah, we still need a quarterback. And when it comes to our first round pick, this is what we could talk about now.
Oh,
The draft. Just real quick. I'm not gonna like give up like stats and stuff for these players, but just go through a couple of them that we can target.
Right.
This is our draft order. Like I said, we had 2 second round picks, but we had to get rid of that because of Brian Burns. So we have 6,
mm-hmm.
47, 70. Like y'all see the numbers.
Yeah.
Wide receiver this year is the deepest that it's been in a while. So even if we don't get a first round wide receiver or a second, the third round wide receiver that we get could start for us, maybe, depending on who it is. That's how good the wide receiver crop is. So that could be a premium position that we get in the draft. Because when it comes to these premium positions and the cost of them, you can't possibly sign all of them. You have to draft a couple
Right.
just because of the salary cap.
Mm.
So you bring in somebody like Brian Burns, who's going to make $30-something million a year, because once you get off the Daniel Jones contract, he pretty much takes place of the Daniel Jones contract if we have a rookie quarterback because the rookie quarterback wouldn't be making that much money. So to answer your question, Steph, when it comes to roster building, you get somebody like Brian Burns, not necessarily to be a finishing piece, but you get players like that moving forward because if you plan on drafting a rookie quarterback, he's not going to cost anything.
Right.
Until that 5th-year option, and you have to re-sign him. So you got pretty much like a 5-year window to have a very good roster with a rookie quarterback. Once his salary flips into something huge, that's when you got to start cutting people.
Yeah.
That's when Brian Burns, you can't sign Brian Burns for $30 million when your quarterback is making 50 something.
Right.
So you have to get those pieces first, especially if you plan on having a quarterback that doesn't cost that much money. That's why San Fran is in such a good place right now. And they can have all of those players like that because their starting quarterback was a 7th-round pick from 2 years ago that's not making any type of money. I don't even think he was making $1 million last year.
Wow.
So when we're paying Daniel Jones 40, it completely messes up your salary cap to how you have to build your roster.
Right.
So now, once Brock Purdy gets his he's not going to get a 5th-year extension because you only get 5 years of 5th-year extension if you were picked in the 1st round. So they have 2 more years before he asks for an extension.
Wow.
Once that extension comes and he's making big time money, I guarantee you their roster, it has to change. Like Deebo Samuel might not be there anymore. Christian McCaffrey definitely not going to be there because he's the highest paid running back in the league. You're not going to have a franchise quarterback and a really, really expensive running back. That doesn't really make any sense. So, yeah, when it comes to roster construction, the draft really is what it's all about because these players are going to be cheap.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask too, like how much money do the Giants have left, and what positions are they going to look to fill as starters through the draft as compared to whatever they have left in free agency?
Right. I don't know exactly how much they have. I don't think anybody knows but them. Like it's really, really harder in football to know how much cap space like a football team has because they can
Restructure.
I think both Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence signed their contracts last year, and they might ask both of them to restructure them already just that fast.
Wow.
Because they know they're going to keep them, so it doesn't matter if they push years down the line because they're so young. So they might have a smaller cap hit, but you might have to add 2 more years on their contract. But since they're both in their early to mid 20s, you're okay with doing that. Right. Because they're both like some of the best players at their position, and you don't expect them to fall off anytime soon. And to answer your question, Eru, so quarterback and wide receiver are the 2 positions that I think that we're going to target in the draft. And like I mentioned to Steph, these are the players or the 2 premium positions that we don't have. So between Caleb Williams, I picked 7 players. The first 4 are the quarterbacks: Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jalen Daniels, and J.J. McCarthy. All of them are different. All of them have different type of careers. It's up to the Giants if they fall in love with one of these dudes enough to either move up in the draft or just hope that one of them fall. I don't think any 4 of these are going to fall, so we're going to have to move up to get one of them at this point.
Is there anyone that you would give up the draft capital to move up, or do you feel like whoever is 5th or 6th could potentially be, 5th and 6th in terms of ranked out of the quarterback, could potentially be a franchise quarterback?
When it comes to being a franchise quarterback, I'm picking these 4. Really, the first 3. J.J. McCarthy, to me, is the biggest question mark because, like I said earlier in the show, we haven't seen him throw that many footballs. But when he does throw them, he has all the tools to do so. We just haven't seen it with our own eyes if you watch college football. But like I said before, NFL coaches and front offices and stuff like that only care but so much what you did in college. They are judging J.J. McCarthy or what he's going to do for them going forward. So if I'm Brian Daboll and I have all 4 of these quarterbacks in. I put them, on a whiteboard to see how good their recall is. You can give them workouts and stuff like that. You can go to their pro day and see their mechanics, their footwork, and all that stuff. That's when you pick which one you will actually want, or you can have them listed and ranked. If one person is there, we definitely going to draft this person if he's at 6. Or like you'll have a list. If he's gone, we'll move to the next one. If we love him enough at that position or that pick, we get him. For me, my 2 favorite on here is Caleb Williams. I think is the best, but I don't know if he's good for us, and we're not going to get him anyway because he's either going number 1, or if Washington moves up to number 1, like he's going to be the first pick of the draft.
Yeah. Let me throw this at you, because because these guys are so prolific, especially the top 3, like you said, somebody below is going to try to move up to try to jump in front of the Giants. So that's a big problem too,
Right.
So what do you think about a guy like Michael Penix Jr.? That he's on Washington quarterback. What do you think about him?
Right. I'm not a big Penix fan, not because of him, because of his injury history. I think if I'm the New York Giants, I'm taking him completely off my board because he has 2 ACL tears. And a couple other injuries too that kept him out of games. And even in the championship game, they didn't lose because he got hurt, but he got hurt early, and you can tell, and he did not have a good game.
Right.
But when it comes to arm talent, how smart he is, he's comparable to the 4 players that we have on the screen right now.
Yard wise, he has more yards than all of them. I know he got hurt. I just want to hear what you have to say about that. But he's older too, 23. And,
right.
A lot of yards, man, with that arm.
Right. Him, and matter of fact, all these dudes are transfers except for Drake May. JJ McCarthy played Michigan all his whole time too, but Jalen Daniels played for he came in playing for Arizona State. I think under Herm Edwards, the ex head coach for the Jets. I think he was the head coach at Arizona State when he got Jalen Daniels. And Caleb Williams was at Oklahoma first. But to answer your question, Michael Penix, I like him talent-wise. He has a cannon for an arm. He probably might be, I would guess that he might be the best deep ball thrower in the draft. But with our injury history with Daniel Jones coming off of ACL, having multiple neck injuries, Michael Penix Jr. having 2 ACL injuries, and having other injuries as well, I'm taking him off the board. I'm not picking a quarterback that's been hurt.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Bo Nix is another quarterback that I'm not a big fan of. I don't think he has an NFL type of arm. I don't think he's going to be a starting quarterback, but I could be wrong when it comes to that too. I'm just going by what my eyes see. He can, a coach can come in and Bo Nix can have him fall in love with them. Like it only takes one organization to fall in love with a player to get picked.
I'm not picking nobody named Bo Nix though, man. That's too country for me. You were talking about injury history. Somebody named Bo and then his last name is Nix too. Nah, it's a little too country for me.
Salute to Almighty for that. As he said, Bo Nix Penix has been injured. Like he tore his ACL twice. So like when you have a quarterback that tore his ACL twice when he was in college, because he played for Indiana before he played for Washington, he's a transfer too. He got hurt a couple times, and not only then, he got hurt with another injury that like ended his season as well. So like his first 3 seasons in college ended in season-ending injuries.
He's also played 6 seasons, right? I'm looking at 6 seasons here.
Yeah, something like that. He's older. Yeah. He's older because of like COVID. Like everybody got an extra year, so a lot of players coming out this year. It's a year, like they could have been drafted last year.
Yeah. Well, I have something to add to this, but you're going to get to the wide receiver camp. So when we get to that, I'll throw something else at you.
I'm trying to see if I have anything with the quarterbacks. Yeah. Oh, like you said, we might get jumped, or we might get skipped over. Minnesota just made a trade to get another first round pick. So I believe they have 11 and 1 in the 20s.
23.
So 23. So I would guess that between Arizona and the Chargers, who draft ahead of us at 4 or 5, they will skip us to either 4 or 5. One of those teams will have 2 first-round picks, and they will get J.J. McCarthy.
Dirty. I definitely could see that, though.
Because I think the first 3 are going to be 1, 2, and 3.
Right. Now, and since they let's say they make that trade with the Giants, and so they can get McCarthy, would you do that to get 2 first-round draft picks a little later, but just just for the extra capital?
It all depends. We'll go to the wide receivers. I don't think any of the wide receivers are going to be at 11, so I don't know. But it would definitely help us that 4 quarterbacks are going before we pick, though, if we're going to try to get a wide receiver. So we might go to the wide receivers now. I think this is the last slide I have. These are the top 3 wide receivers. Marvin Harrison Jr., everybody knows who his dad is. He's the number 1 player in this draft. He's my favorite player. From the eye test, I would pick, like, if you don't need a quarterback, he should be the first player off the board to me. Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze, they're both totally different type of wide receivers, but both good enough to be number 1s. All 3 of these dudes can be our number 1 wide receiver without a problem. At least projected to be.
Malik's a little guy, though.
No, he's not that little. How let me see how big Malik Neighbors is, because I don't have his measurables.
I think he's like 6 foot or something like that. Yeah, he's 6 foot.
Yeah, how big you think these dudes is? That's not small.
But I mean, we were talking about the other guy that we picked up, right? So he's like 5'7" or something like that. And then we have we got the other dude, what's his name? Robinson is also short also. So getting another short guy to be the number 1, we don't really have a guy outside of the kid we were talking about, Isaiah Hoggins. He's tall. But outside of that, the Giants don't have anybody with any height out there on the wide receiver.
Well, Darius Slayton is 6'2". He's our starter. Jalen Hyatt is 6 foot, 6'1". So Malik Neighbors is 6 foot as well. By comparison, Odell Beckham is 5'11". Right. So when you're looking at wide receivers, I think you should stop worrying about how tall they are, to be honest.
Well, it's nice to have that somebody with a little bit of height.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just spoiled because of Plaxico and the other guy that they used to be with the Giants. They both were like 6'3" and 6'5" or whatever they were, at the time. So I just like that look to throw over the top, then being able to jump a little higher than the guys to catch the ball.
Well, if you want those two type of receivers, well, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze are both 6'4".
Right.
So I completely get that. I like both of them. Malik Neighbors would be my number 3. But not because of his size, though. But I would pick Roman. Like, say if we have 6, Marvin Harrison Jr., I highly doubt that he's there. But if he's there, that's the pick. Then I'm picking Roman Dunze, and then I'm picking Malik Neighbors. But I'm not mad at either.
Right.
All 3 of them can be a number 1 Pro Bowl type of wide receiver to me.
You familiar with them, Steph?
I'm not. Other than Jarrell talking about Marvin Harrison all season, well, football and basketball season.
Yeah.
But there's 4 quarterbacks and there's him. The Giants they'll get somebody good at 6. But you're saying if Marvin Harrison is there, you'll pick him over a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that provided all of those top 4 quarterbacks are gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Like if those 4 quarterbacks are gone,
right,
and Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the board at 6, we should draft Marvin Harrison Jr., if that's your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm picking him over like the 5th and 6th rank
quarterback.
Listen,
remember CD Lamb that year fell all the way to the Cowboys? It's possible.
Yeah.
Not for Marvin Harrison Jr. though. Hell no. Not for him. Let's just say this: his dad is a Hall of Famer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of college, he's a way better prospect than he was.
He's better than his dad as a prospect.
As a prospect, yeah. Obviously not his career, because he's in the Hall of Fame. Marvin Harrison, Senior was one of the best wide receivers ever. So I don't want to disrespect him, but coming out of college, him coming out of Syracuse compared to his son coming out of Ohio State, you would pick his son before you would pick him.
Yeah, prospect wise, I get that.
Prospect wise, like just coming out of college. Salute to Almighty Finesse. What's my comparison for Dunze? I just looked at his measure. He's not 6'4", he's 6'3". Weighed in the combine at 212, 6'3". His speed, I think he got like a 4.54. The way he runs routes, his hands, I like him compared to like maybe Keenan Allen. He plays for the Bears now. He was not San Diego, but the LA Chargers #1 wide receiver for a while. And one of my favorite players. I actually think he's one of the best route runners in the league. So I can maybe compare him to him, and he's a little bit faster than Keenan Allen, but I don't know, same type of body style. I see Almighty Finesse says comparison DJ Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Well, Amon-Ra St. Brown is more of a slot receiver. DJ Moore, I see. But yeah, they're all good route runners.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes them special. It's not their measurables. It's how good these dudes break in and out of their routes and how smart they are and how they get open.
This guy Romy has a great personality too. Odunze, he has a great personality, man. I got a chance to watch a couple of videos of him being interviewed, and he has this one of those media personality. I don't know if it's a New York style of personality, but he has a good personality though.
Yeah, he's a good kid. I think originally he's from Vegas. So
I can see that.
He's from he's a West Coast kid. He went to Washington. Yeah, but I really like Rome Odunze. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is in our he's almost like a pipe dream for me. So I almost take him off the board. So Rome Odunze will be my #1 wide receiver. But Malik Neighbors is right behind him though. We haven't talked about him, but he's the most explosive wide receiver in this draft.
Yeah. You want to break him down? Because I have something to throw at you.
What, Malik Neighbors? No, go ahead. Ask me a question.
Okay, so I was talking about the quarterback, this guy Penix, that we could possibly move down to, or not move down, but just like I say, if somebody wants to move up to get one of these guys, we could take the 2 picks and move on from that and just pick somebody else, right?
Right.
So what do you think about Malik Neighbors' teammate, Brian Thomas Jr.?
I like him. Height, weight, speed type of dude. That's what you said. You're talking about somebody that actually was in your wheelhouse because of his height.
Right.
Very, very fast for his height too. I think he is about 6'3", 6'4", run the 40-yard dash like a 4.3 at the combine.
Yeah, more touchdowns than Neighbors too.
Right. He's not a better wide receiver than Malik Neighbors though. He's very, very athletic, and he will be picked in the first round. He is not going to be picked before Neighbors though, because Neighbors as a route runner, way more polished, way more smooth coming out of his routes, and he will get open. Think of Malik Neighbors. You could compare him to somebody like Antonio Brown.
Right. But do you see the vision that I'm saying though? Like let's say if Minnesota decided to trade 11 and 23, to the Giants to get number 6 so they can get one of the quarterbacks, right? And then the Giants say, you know what? We're going to use that to get Penix and to get this kid Brian Jr. Would that be good?
That still might be a little bit too rich, because I could see we was picking in the teens, but at 11, if Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze are all off the board at 11, having Thomas at 11 is not bad though. I would not mind that, because I do view him as a #1 wide receiver. Maybe he's just not better than the 3 that's on the screen. That's all. But if you did trade down and get him, I'm not upset at all, if that's your question. It's a couple other wide receivers too, like A.D. Mitchell out of Texas, height, weight, speed guy, just like Eru, like 6'5", run the 40 in like a 4.3 or whatever. But when it comes to all these wide receivers, you have to really look at if they could get open. Throw the 40 time out the window. I understand a lot of people like 40 times, and it's like the main event when it comes to the combine. Throw the 40 times out. Don't nobody care about what your 40 time is once you get on the football field when you're a professional.
Yeah, shout out to Jerry Rice. His 40 time wasn't as good as when he put the pads on. It's a whole different ball game.
Right, because some players are just as fast with pads on than without.
Right.
Some people just not good racing and running in a straight line. You have to actually prepare yourself and train for the 40-yard dash. You could be fast and have a terrible 40.
Right.
And you could have a terrible 40, but be one of the best route runners in the league, just like Keenan Allen, and catch 100 balls a season.
Right.
Or you could be like somebody like Darius Slayton, who's 6'2", run the 40 in the 4.35, and can't catch a cold.
Right.
So when it comes to like the measurables and the speed and the time, those look good. But at the end of the day, all of that can be absolutely nothing. It just depends on how good of a player they are.
Well, I just gotta reiterate, man. Max Penix and Brian Thomas in the first round would be excellent for me. I think that's something I would do.
So you would still pick, even if you're picking, say if you're picking 23, like you said, you still, even with the injury history and all that, you still picking Michael Penix?
Yeah, why not? But it's about the value because you're getting the 2 picks, so you're getting let's say if you strike out with some of these other other quarterbacks or whatever, and then you can't get the wide receiver that you want either. So the consolation would be to go back, get 2 picks, and hopefully you can still get the a good quarterback prospect, and still get a nice wide receiver prospect in for your trouble.
See, I would rather, if it was me and I got 11 and 23, I'm picking a wide receiver and somebody else. And I'm not picking a quarterback to maybe like the 3rd or 4th round to be like a project and just, reset the quarterback market some other way. Like I'm not picking somebody that I don't want as a constellation prize if it's supposed to be my franchise quarterback.
Right.
Like if I have Michael Penix as my 6th quarterback, I'm not picking the 6th quarterback in the 1st round.
Right.
Not before I pick like the number 2 or 3 wide receiver. If I'm in need at either position, and we need both. But quarterback obviously is more important than wide receiver. So I get what you're saying, Eru. Like if Michael Penix is picked in the 1st round, I wouldn't be shocked at all. It just depends on the injury history, how much you care about it, the state of your roster. With ours, like our quarterback is hurt now. I'm not drafting one that's hurt again too, or has a history of being hurt. The 2 ACLs scare me, to be honest.
Yeah, no doubt. Just throwing out there just for shits and giggles. So the third position. We talked about quarterbacks and wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the third position that you would draft if you had to?
In the 1st round?
Yeah, for the Giants.
I think the way we did free agency so far, I think picking a guard or a tackle is not going to happen now. Like at first, picking a tackle was definitely in question. Not anymore since we signed a Luminor. So we have Evan Neal and Luminor. Either one can play right so far. So it would probably be some in with the 23. I'm picking wide receiver with the 11. With the 23 pick, it depends on who's on the board. I would have to see. But it could be like a defensive tackle. It's a couple of defensive tackles that have a 1st round grade that I would pick that to pair up with Dexter Lawrence. There's only probably like one tight end that I would pick in the 1st round. That's Brock Bowers out of Georgia. He's not going to be at 23. He's going to be picked way before that because he's like a freak of nature at his position. But I don't know. That's not somebody that I would pick.
What about cornerback?
Corner is cool. We already have picked Banks 1st round. I'll be not shocked, but I'll be surprised if we picked a cornerback 2 years in a row in the 1st round.
Right.
Because that means you have to say if they both are good, you have to pay both of them back-to-back years.
Right. Yep.
So safety is not a premium position that you have to use a 1st round pick. It really just depends on who's on the board. Like I would have to see it first. Like it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I'm gonna just go at that position. That's not how the NFL draft usually works or how you should view it.
Right.
Because even if you need that position, what if the number 1 player at that position isn't that good and you pick him anyway? Like that's why you get like phrases like best player available and stuff like that. You're not really supposed to pick per position unless it's quarterback, obviously,
Right. And unless it's close,
unless it's close.
then
Absolutely right.
you pick
Yeah.
position you need.
Absolutely right.
But those are all stuff that's gonna be going crazy on that draft day, man. That's another day. Draft is a lot of fun, man. First rounds, all the rounds are fun. Even when you get down to the deep rounds, man. All
Yeah.
these conversations, they never stop.
Absolutely. I'm a draft nerd. I'm gonna watch all of it. Just like last year, I'm gonna have a draft show. I'm gonna have 2 draft shows. I'm gonna be live the whole first round, just like I
Oh,
did
for
last year.
real?
Yeah, I did that last year.
You know
And
my condition, Jerome.
we had a draft show last year, and after the draft, I'm not going to do any like pre-draft stuff when it comes to the players because it seemed like it's not a waste of time, but it's just doing a whole bunch of homework on players that we're not going to pick.
Right.
So I'm gonna wait until after the draft, just like I did last year. I had a live show the whole first round, and then I came back once the draft was over after a couple days, because it's only the first round and day 1. And then it's day 2 and then day 3. Then after we pick all of our picks, I'm going to have a draft post show, and I'll break down every pick that we have with a whole profile, video highlights and all that, just like last year.
Yeah.
Any more draft stuff, Eru? Because that's it, man. We even came to the end.
Yeah, man, this has been fun. I'm telling you, I'm excited about the NFL now, man. So, so
Glad
yeah.
you're excited. Oh, Almighty, before we get out of here, Traveri's right. Salute the Almighty Finesse again. Starting cornerback for the Buffalo Bills. I think he comes in either tomorrow or came in today. I forgot, but we might actually sign him. Like I said earlier about quarterbacks making big money and how you have to shape your roster. If you look at Buffalo now, because of Josh Allen's contract, they had to get rid of their starting cornerback, their starting safety, one of their starting wide receivers, and I think one of their linemen left too, all starters in the free agency because their quarterback is one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league.
Why don't we just combine with the Buffalo Bills? Because it seems like we want all their players. Because I mean, you mentioned the cornerback on Tre'Davious, right? But then they also have a older wide receiver. Was it Gabriel Davis? He's another guy that's a free agent that we can kind of pick up if we need.
Oh no, he signed. I think he
signed.
I think Jacksonville, but he signed with somebody.
Oh man, okay.
I think it was Jacksonville, but he definitely signed with somebody. I just forgot who it was, but I think it's Jacksonville though.
Okay.
I think it was the Jaguars because the Jaguars lost Calvin Ridley to the Chiefs. No, the Chiefs got Hollywood Brown. Calvin Ridley went to, I forgot where he went to, but he's not with the Jaguars. Yeah, Gabe Davis signed with the Jaguars.
Okay.
Because their number 1 wide receiver went somewhere else. I forgot where Calvin Ridley went, but he left. Damn, where he went.
Do you think we re-sign Isaiah Simmons, or you think the new defensive coordinator, he wouldn't be a fit?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Do you think we re-sign, I think his name is Isaiah Simmons, or do you think with the new defensive coordinator, he wouldn't be a fit, the linebacker that we picked up?
Isaiah Simmons, he's versatile, so he will fit anywhere. It just depends on how creative you are and where you line him up at. He could be an edge rusher. He can play middle linebacker some. He can play safety. Like Isaiah Simmons is athletic enough to be just a Swiss Army knife. That's how we kind of used him last year too. But it all depends on what he's asking for because he's a high draft pick. We got him for a low. He's a high draft pick when he got drafted, right? But we got him for a low pick because they didn't know what to do with him, and his contract was coming up, so they traded him to us. His contract is up now, so he's probably going to be looking for a bigger payday than we can give him. But like I said before, Saquon Barkley went somewhere, had a contract, and we was able to match it. He might go somewhere, get a contract, come to us to see if we can match it or not. That's why I think it's taking so long because he's probably looking for a deal and probably waiting for there's a lot of people not signed yet. Like free agency started last week or 2 weeks ago, but this shit is going to last until like even the season. When the season starts, it's still going to be free agents on the couch waiting for people to get injured so they can be signed because you don't want to say if you're one of those people that's looking for a big payday, Now is not the time to sign with somebody until after training camp because somebody gets injured every year in training camp
Right.
at your position. So you probably would not try to sign with somebody now. You get to pick and choose who you want to sign with.
Man, football is stressful, Steph.
It's a lot of moving pieces, man.
And we're not done. We might get some, good value in the second and third wave of free agency. So.
Exactly. Like you said, Isaiah Simmons hasn't signed with anybody. I mentioned both Isaiahs. Isaiah Hodgins, our starting wide receiver, he hasn't signed yet either.
Right.
Maybe he might could come back. Adoree Jackson, we haven't talked about him yet. He was our starting cornerback. He's a free agent. We might not bring him back depending on what he's asking for.
Who's playing on the other side of Banks? Do we even have a starting cornerback?
Last year it was another rookie starting with Banks, and that's
I remember that. Yeah.
I forgot his name too.
He started the season, but he didn't finish. Did he go back to the bench?
Hawkins, Tremaine Hawkins, that's his name. Yeah. Out of Rhode Island, I think. So yeah, I think he was our starting corner. I don't know what his status is now. Cordell Flott was he's our starting slot. So Almighty Finesse said Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills is, like I said, he plays corner and plays safety. He played a lot of safety for the Patriots last year, but he can start corner too. It all depends. I would probably most like him in the slot, but like if push comes to shove, he can definitely start on the outside too.
Yeah, I'd rather have him in the slot, I think.
Almighty Finesse brought up Tre'Davious Wright earlier. He can be the starting corner. Like our starting corner might not even be on the team yet. Yeah, he might not be on the team yet. So it all depends. Like we don't know who our starting free safety is going to be.
So I mean, now I'm stressed, man. Because I'm looking because I feel
like
such
in a good mood, Hero. Why are you stressed now, man? We just went through the whole free agency. Now you stressed.
Because Steph brought up the question: Are we rebuilding, or are we looking to really make a push to be like a playoff team? But like I'm looking at guys like Amadi Finesse brought up Tre'Davious White. So these are names that I know them, but then as soon as you say it, it's like, yeah, what about that guy? And then you mentioned the other person that's that we didn't sign yet. It's like, yeah, what about that guy? It's like, oh my god. So if we was to get a Tre'Davious, like Mighty Finesse said here in the chat, he's like, Banks and White, holy, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, so how close are we to? We're not to contention, but how close are we to at least being like, 9-7 next year? Our playoff team 9-7.
We don't have a quarterback. Like I keep bringing it in. Like I know people are optimistic about the season. We don't have a quarterback or a number one wide receiver. I don't expect us to do.
We didn't have a quarterback 2 seasons ago, man, and we almost went to the Super Bowl with that squad we had, man. That lucky squad.
So yeah, man. Like I don't know. Like it all depends. We don't know how well Brian Daboll is going to control the locker room after last season.
Right.
One of his we didn't talk about that at all. Brian Daboll, one of his coordinators pretty much quit. We come to Wink Martindale. The other coordinator seemed like he went out of here too, but they didn't let him because Mike Kafka, I think he got offered a job to be in football, you can be a coordinator, right? An offensive coordinator. You can't go somewhere else and be an offensive coordinator unless you get promoted. Like I have to give them permission to talk to my offensive coordinator to get a head coaching job, but you're not going to talk to my OC to be your OC.
Right.
They can't do like I have a right to block that.
Right.
So what the Giants did, or what some teams will do, they would try to make a lateral move, but make him like an associate head coach. A lot of times when you see associate head coach, it's because of that. So I think the Seattle Seahawks tried to get Mike Kafka to make him an associate or assistant head coach or whatever to make them their OC, and we blocked it because he was going to leave. because he interviewed for their head coaching job. He didn't get the head coaching job, but they wanted him to go over there regardless. But after they hired their head coach, I forgot who it was, but yeah, we blocked it. So if your OC wanted to leave or wants to leave and we blocked it, the DC left. I don't know if Brian Dable is the right dude for the job yet. Like I don't trust him as much as I did the year before. You can't. Like you can't. So it's always gonna. If it's a question mark, it's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to be. So much as I like Brian Dable, I have to question his leadership now until he gets that in order.
Yeah,
because that is a huge fracture in your foundation where both of your coordinators don't want to be there anymore. So that's the show, guys. Like, so what y'all think about going forward? Like, I know Eru was optimistic. Now he's stressed out. He about to have a bad night. I'm sorry, man.
I got a whole bunch of screens open now. I'm looking at a bunch of stuff now. Oh, man.
But you know what I like? I like that they filling in these special, not the special positions. What do you call it? The premium positions?
Mm-hmm.
I like that they filling them in first. We need a quarterback, and I think we need another cornerback. I don't know about what's his name, Tremaine. We'll see, because he started the season there, but he didn't end the season there. If I'm not mistaken,
right.
He lost the spot to somebody after the third week, fourth week, or something like that.
Right. Adoree Jackson, the dude that he took it from in the first place.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they just put him back as a starter.
Okay.
So I get what you mean.
But I like having these filling in these premium. What's the word you use?
Premium positions.
Premium position. I like that. We still got a quarterback. We need a quarterback. We need a wide receiver. In my opinion, a cornerback.
Right. Because those are premium positions. Premium positions are the ones who get all the money.
Right.
And you will know by their contract whether they in a premium position or not. Like we was talking about Saquon Barkley being overpaid, and he was only getting paid 12 something.
Right.
Compared to Brian Burns, who's getting like 32.
Right.
Like next year. So that's how you could tell the position that they play. One is way more valuable than the other. That's how football works, man. That's how contracts work. A lot of people don't, they just go by the player. I love Saquon Barkley. He's the man. Yes. Is he worth that money at that price point on your roster when your roster isn't filled?
No. And that's the same, not to get onto the Knicks in the off season. That's the same conversation. Maybe it's premature. Do we need two centers? Oh, let's just sign both of them. I'm like, I don't want to tie $30 million up in two centers when we can get a backup center for minimum, and use that money somewhere else.
Right. Exactly. The only difference between the NFL and the NBA, and the NBA has outliers.
Right.
Like, yes, you will pay $30 million for the Joker.
Right.
And then some. You give the Joker $50 million.
Right.
You're not giving Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein $40 million split. Like, no.
No.
There are outliers. There's hardly any outliers in the NFL. Like, you have to, it's only that many. It's not that many running backs that's going to be paid that much. There's McCaffrey, Saquon now, and maybe like two others. That's it.
Yeah. That's the beauty of having both sports, man. It's like two different sides of the brain working when you're talking about NFL, NBA, even baseball and all that stuff, man. It's like a lot of different things going on.
Especially when it comes to the finance. That's why I say most fans, including myself, we don't know what they're doing. Yeah. We never will, and we're not supposed to. Like, they have multiple people handling salary caps and stuff like that because you have to. Like, it's too complicated not to. At least if you're smart, you have, a big team around you. You can't do that stuff by yourself. Every general manager has to have a team. But I don't know. Like, when it comes to basketball, they have teams too.
Yeah,
not just them.
Yeah.
Leon Rose got a whole team. He's not the one making all decisions. He might make the decision.
Right.
He's not making the decisions though. Like, You know, other people, he has scouts, he has everything around him, as he should. It's the same thing in the NFL. Like Joe Shane is ultimately making all these decisions, but yeah, he has multiple assistants, multiple whatever, handling stuff so he can make the final decision.
Right.
And even if he wanted to make the final decision, he might be the type of person that, even though I want this dude, if so many other people disagree with me, even though I can outrule you, that don't mean I'm going to, because I can be wrong. Like that's what smart GMs do. Like smart GMs never make all the decisions. That don't make any sense. One person, like, you'll ruin a franchise if you try to do that. You have to have a team around you.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess that's good in business, period. Not just football or sports. That's just good in business.
Yeah, that's why businesses have boards and stuff like that, because one
Exactly.
guy could be wilding, and then the board can get together and kick you out. Say, listen, you don't need. How about this? You don't own the team. You don't own this company anymore. Goodbye.
So when the head person is wilding, David Gettleman, and picks a running back at number 2, if you're the rest of the people, what the hell? Like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
He was the type of person that didn't really take outside stuff in. He made the decisions, and that was it. Like, he had a team, but ultimately, like, he made all the decisions. All those Panthers that we signed, you talked about the Bills, Eru. Like, you remember all the Panthers that we signed when he came from the Panthers here?
Yeah.
When we signed like Jonathan Stewart to like a multi-year deal, and he got like 3 yards. you know what I'm saying? This shit happen all the time, man. Like, it just depends on what type of person you are. Like, we're signing bills. We're not signing any bills to any big contracts, though.
Right. But at least some of these bills, they're all of them that he's signing, all are hard workers and stuff like that. Value pickups from all these guys.
Right.
I was thinking about the Knicks too. Back in the days, we went and got Scott Layden because he helped run Utah. Look what the hell happened with that. So
remember Donnie Walsh? Donnie Walsh was successful in other places. Came here and did what?
I thought Donnie Walsh would have been okay if Dolan wouldn't have overturned his hand on the Carmelo. Anthony trade.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Absolutely. Got you.
That dude came into the Knicks walking and left in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Donnie Walsh.
We sold the entire team, let him go, sold him to Sears and so we could clear the roster for LeBron James. And when we had our meeting, he came rolling in there in a wheelchair. I said, Lord, not getting that.
Not even a nice wheelchair. It was like a raggedy ass wheelchair. Like, where the hell they get that thing?
He ain't gonna sign here.
Yeah, I put this up because yes, David Gettleman. It's not like he batted 0.
Right.
Yeah, sexy Dex. Yeah, baby.
But he also traded up into the first round and got DeAndre Baker, who was off the team a year after that,
and gave up a pick for Leonard Williams too.
Yep. And then Joe Shane had to come in and get a better pick for Leonard Williams to get him out of there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the level of GMs that we're talking about. Like, yes, David Gettleman did draft Thomas. He did draft Dexter Lawrence. Look at all the other players that he drafted, though. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying all of them are bad, but most of them aren't on the team anymore.
Right.
Matter of fact, Xavier McKinney, I think he might have been after Dexter Lawrence and Zizo Delari. I think he drafted him. But yeah, most of them are on their way out, except for those 2.
I was talking to you about that. Well, Mighty Finesse said we basically traded Leonard Williams for Brian Burns, kind of, sort of indirectly.
Kind of, sort of indirectly. It makes sense. And with that, our GM is a genius. Then, if that's the case,
yeah, because we got better,
a lot better. Brian Burns is playing a premium position, and he's only 25 years old.
Right.
So he's not going to do anything but get better. Leonard Williams is actually going down, and we traded him for a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
So that's the level of GMs, man. So any final words? What y'all got going on this week?
What do I got? Yeah, I only have one show on the channel right now. So Fridays will be going for the weekly show. That's about it.
For me, I always got something going on, but it depends on what's happening outside of that, if that's even going to happen. So we'll see.
Yeah, you were all over the place. You mess around and have a pod tomorrow.
I might mess around and have a pod tonight. I'm
Tonight.
crazy like that. But one thing that is happening, Dire State of Mind is back. We're going to be doing that at least once a week.
Nice.
We're going to try
Right.
to figure out days, possibly Sundays, or maybe even sometime during the week. But at least once a week, me and State going to do something together.
Nice, man. Salute to State. State is back, man. I caught y'all. I caught y'all show, but not all of it, but most of it when you was at the liquor store, the spot. That's dope.
Yeah, I should do a behind the scenes,
I saw your tweet
episode about that, because there was a lot of stuff going on.
I saw your
that
tweet
night.
afterwards. I don't know if you saw that stuff when we talk about it off air, but yeah, Eru had a time in Harlem. Let's just say.
As I was pulling up, they was putting somebody like a crazy dude in the ambulance. So I got the backstory. He was running around with a gun and then dropped it, and then the police picked him up, and then the ambulance came and got him. It was crazy. And then like once I left the state, they had basically a fish fry in the back of my car. They had like lobster tails and crab legs, and
sitting on the
they left
trunk
it right on the trunk of my car.
Wow.
and just left it.
Just left it, man.
New York City.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna be in Harlem Sunday, actually.
Man, it's my mom. That's why my mom moved me out of there, man.
Yeah, Harlem is disrespectful sometimes. The Bronx could be like that too.
Got me out of the city because of that riffraff.
Yeah.
Yo, he came out with a whole pan of food on his car. Steph.
Yeah.
I didn't think you was gonna say it. I was gonna, talk about it off air, but that's crazy.
It was a lot too, and they had butter sauce in there, and I had to luckily I got cleaning products because we live in New York, man. One time I left work and somebody ripped my bumper off the back of my car, man. So it's like, damn, people, you can't have nothing in New York City.
They just took the bumper.
Yeah, I came, went downstairs to my car, and I could see my bumper in the middle of the street.
Wait, hold on. I thought you meant they took it. They didn't take it. They just ripped the shit off.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, because like I remember the car that was behind it was a white car, so they kind of clipped it, whatever. But I don't know how they got, because I'm parked on, the driver's side is against the sidewalk, and
Okay.
there was a car parked behind me, so I don't know how they ripped the back, the bumper off from the left side into the street. They ripped it clean off. Could you imagine?
And your bumper
Yes,
was
I can.
your bumper was just chilling in the street.
Yeah, just like this, just chilling in the street. As I come up, the bumper's like, look,
Hey man, you gonna come get me? Like I'm sitting
they
here
had a rough
chilling.
night.
Hey, AF State set you up, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yo, State, what's going on, man? You set my man Ebru up, man. Somebody tried to fish fry him.
Thank God I'm not allergic to fish, man.
Yeah, man. So salute that Almighty Finesse chilling with us, man. I think he was the only one in the chat. Rob Bracy came through before. Yeah, but salute to Almighty Finesse, man. Came through the chat. I got like 5 people watching now. Everybody like the channel, subscribe, tell your friends about us. I'll be back. I think I probably won't do a show until the draft. So we got like a month. Everybody can do their homework.
Yes, yeah.
During the draft, I'm having a show. Probably be like 3 hours long. I'll be live. Anybody can come through. Steph, you can come through. Ebru, you can come through, or just come through and go back out if you don't want to be in there that long, because it's going to be a good night, man. I like the draft. I'm going to talk about all the prospects that come up, and we pick 6. So draft start at 8. We're going to be picking like around 8:35-ish.
Yeah.
8:35. All right, so salute to everybody. I check y'all out, and we out. Peace.